Chapter 581. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Lily was not the only one. Many warriors in the city flew up as well. Many of them were in a state of panic. The teleportation formation was destroyed. The powerful warriors that were teleported out could not come back. There were two human sovereign realm warriors hiding in the army outside. How long could the shield last? The drifting cloud city, the stormy cloud city, and the flaming cloud city formed a triangle, and they were not far away from each other. That being said, this distance was relative to the vastness of the cloud's plains. There was still some distance between the three cities. It would take a human sovereign realm warrior an hour to fly back at full speed. There were no human sovereign realm warriors in the city, but there were two outside. By the time the two human sovereign realm warriors from the Drifting Cloud Hall got back, the Drifting Cloud City would have become a dead city. Once the millions of warriors broke into the city, the tens of millions of civilians in the city would be at the mercy of the Drifting Cloud Hall. Bang, bang, bang. From the plaza came some noises of explosion. The traitor that attacked the teleportation formation was killed immediately. Even so, the city was in chaos. Fear spread through the hearts of the civilians. They all looked at the densely packed martial artists outside the great array outside the city, and at the two martial artists with the vigorous chi and blood, their eyes filled with fear and despair. Luli dashed toward the main hall of the Drifting Cloud Hall like a sharp sword. Some warriors noticed him, but he had the token of scouts in his hand, so nobody stopped him. Nobody cared about a puny, eternal realm warrior like him. Luli didn't choose to fly in the sky, which was a wise decision. Otherwise, he would have been stopped. He used psychic power to check the Drifting Cloud Hall. When he was halfway there, he could finally see the Drifting Cloud Hall. He saw Lu Ling standing at the back of the hall. Lu Ling was standing outside the back of the hall, with dozens of powerful warriors behind her. All of them were at the Noble Lord realm. Strangely enough, they didn't seem to be frightened. They were all looking at the sky calmly. Boom, boom, boom. The two human sovereign realm warriors and millions of warriors attacked at the same time. All kinds of sword rays and saber rays landed on the light blue shield, creating an earth-shaking noise. The shield was shaking violently, and its color was fading. Clearly, its energy was being consumed. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Many warriors flew out from their yards and gathered at the plaza. Many noble Lord Realm warriors shouted and mobilized warriors in the city to gather. Looking into the distance, Luli could tell that there were more than 1 million warriors gathered at the plaza. Including those standing on the city walls, there must be more than 2 million. Countless martial artists gathered in the center of the square from all directions. Luli heard the shouts of the noble Lord Realm warriors. If it were Meng Ji, he would have gathered at the plaza. But Luli would not follow orders. He just wanted to go to Lu Ling and try his best to protect her. Finally, he arrived at the Drifting Cloud Hall. However, he was stopped by the guards. Many psychic powers were locked onto him. If Luli dared to force his way in, he would be killed right away. I want to see the Saintess. I have important military information to report. Luli waved the token in his hand. The escorts outside the main hall pretended not to see it. A team leader shouted angrily, "Get lost. Go to the plaza." Xiao. All of a sudden, a man showed up behind Luli. He was covered in a black armor. Holding a token in his hand, he said, "Saintess said to let him in." Yes. A warrior covered in a black armor must have a high status. The escorts didn't dare to stop him. Without any hesitation, Luli rushed in like a sharp sword and went straight to the backyard. He saw Lu Ling from the distance. His lips moved as if he wanted to say something. But Lu Ling raised her hand to stop him from saying anything. "Stand on the side," Lu Ling said casually, and then ignored Luli. She gazed into the sky calmly, as if she was waiting for the shield to be broken. Saintess. There were many people standing around Lu Ling, and there were many hidden guards nearby. Luli didn't dare to call her sister in public. He made up his mind and said, "This is a critical situation. When a shield is broken, I will take you away." Many patriarchs of the Noble Lord Realm looked at Luli as if he was an idiot. Luli, a warrior at the initial stage of the Eternal Realm, wanted to take Lu Ling, who was at the middle stage of the noble lord realm, away? Was he not an idiot? What was more, many of them were at the peak of the noble lord realm. Why would they need Lu Li, an eternal realm warrior, to protect Lu Ling? Lu Ling didn't even look at Lu Li. She just said coldly, "Stand there and don't talk. This is an order." Lu Li looked at Lu Ling, but he didn't dare to do anything. There were too many powerful warriors nearby. There were at least 30 of the noble lord realm, and 10 of them were at the peak of the noble lord realm. There were also many hidden guards. If he took Lu Ling away by force, a fight might break out. Boom, boom, boom. The warriors kept on attacking the shield. The shield had become translucent, and it could be broken at any time. Almost all the warriors in the city had gathered. There were more than 3 million warriors in the city, almost equal to the number outside. The Drifting Cloud City was the headquarters of the Drifting Cloud Hall. Naturally, it was heavily guarded. Unfortunately, the only human sovereign realm warrior here was lured away. More than half of the noble lord realm warriors had left. Even if the number of warriors was about the same, it wouldn't help. There was a difference of 1 realm between warriors, but their strengths were worlds apart. A human sovereign realm warrior with 10,000 warriors could defeat an army of 1 million. Nobody could stop a human sovereign realm warrior. What was more, a human sovereign realm warrior could target the enemy's commander. Once the commander and senior leaders were killed, morale would drop and the army would collapse. Louis didn't know much about commanding armies. That being said, he was the emperor of the northern desert after all. He had seen it before. What he didn't understand was, the situation was so clear. How come Lu Ling and the noble Lord Realm warriors were so calm? Even if some of them were pretending, how come dozens of them could do it so well that Lu Li couldn't see through them? It's about time, patriarchy. After the time for 10 breaths, Lu Ling said. She waved her hand, and a patriarch at the peak of the noble Lord Realm flew to the plaza. The patriarch shouted, "Spread out and prepare for battle." This patriarch, he must have a high prestige at the Drifting Cloud Hall. At his shout, the 2 million warriors on the plaza divided into 4 square formations and stood around the plaza, ready for battle. Boom! Not long after, the great city defense formation in the sky burst apart like a bubble. The 2 Ren Huangs on it suddenly had a murderous aura. Both of them waved their weapons and roared, "Kill!" The 2 human sovereign realm warriors led more than 100 noble lord realm warriors and more than 10,000 eternal realm warriors toward the plaza in the center of the city. Human sovereign realm warriors were the sharpest weapons, and they must be used in the most appropriate places. There were 2 million warriors around the plaza, and they were ready for battle. It was the wisest decision for the 2 human sovereign realm warriors and a group of powerful warriors to come to the plaza. As long as they could defeat the 2 million warriors, all the civilians in the Drifting Cloud City would become livestock in a slaughterhouse, slaughtered at will. Charge! Deafening battle cries rang out from all directions of the Drifting Cloud City. 3 million soldiers rushed towards the city from all directions like a tidal wave. Chapter 582. Boom, boom, boom. Before the 2 human sovereign realm warriors and a group of powerful warriors could get in, a fight had broken out around the city wall. There were warriors standing on the city wall. Naturally, they would not show mercy to the enemies coming from all sides. After a round of long-range attacks, they took out their weapons and started fighting. Warriors that could be recruited by the Drifting Cloud Hall were at least at the Soul Pond realm. Warriors of the Spirit Sea realm were not qualified to join the army. Fate Wheel realm warriors could only be team leaders. It was the same for the 3 forces. The city wall seemed to be high. For warriors of the Soul Pond realm, walking on it was as easy as walking on flat ground. They only needed to jump up and then kick on the city wall. Then they could jump up easily. As soon as they were on the city wall, hand-to-hand combat began. Both sides were enraged. The 3 forces and the Drifting Cloud Hall had been holding grudges for years. They were like fire and water, and the hatred was as deep as the ocean. Neither side showed mercy. They began to fight with their strongest moves. By the time the 2 human sovereign realm warriors arrived at the plaza with more than 10,000 warriors, the city wall on all sides had been covered with blood. At least more than 10,000 people had been killed or wounded. Charge! The two human sovereign realm warriors arrived at the plaza from midair. They landed from the sky, and each led a team to fight on two sides. But the warriors standing on the ground didn't move. It was so strange that it was suffocating. Patriarchy! Right at that moment, Lu Ling suddenly shouted. She poured Xian energy into her voice, so it was loud and clear. Hearing Lu Ling's voice, Patriarchy shouted, "Use Xian energy and attack the ground of the plaza." Attack the ground of the plaza? Many people were confused. Why didn't they attack the enemies coming from the sky? Why did they attack the ground of the plaza? That being said, Patriarchy was the master of the Hall of Warfare and enjoyed high prestige in the Drifting Cloud Hall. Out of instinct, many people began to use Xian energy to attack the ground of the plaza. Boom, 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 the ground of the plaza was cracked. Dust was flying up. At the same time, a ray of light rose up from the bottom of the plaza. A surge of horrifying chi and energy spread out. Then, a huge blue light shroud suddenly formed and enveloped the entire square. A strong gravitational force pressed down on everyone in the square. Countless people were instantly suppressed. Even the two Ren Huangs were suppressed. What a heavens! Countless people were shocked. The armies of the three forces and the drifting cloud hall on the city wall were all stunned. The entire city fell into an eerie silence at this moment. Demon trapping array. Lu Li, who was standing next to her, couldn't help but shout out three words. He had seen this array formation before and had even been trapped by it before. In the small battlefield at the demon-slaying hall, Lu Xuan had built such a formation, and Lu Xuan was almost killed. However, the demon-trapping formation built by Lu Xuan was worlds apart from this one. This one covered the entire plaza and even trapped a human sovereign realm warrior. Lu Xuan must have spent a lot of precious formation stones. Such a shocking grand array was definitely not something that an ordinary person could set up. No wonder. Lu Li threw a glance to Lu Ling, who was calm. He was relieved. No wonder she was so calm when the army was here. She must have planned ahead. However, Lu Li was puzzled. The two human sovereign realm warriors of the three forces had strong psychic powers, and they had more than 10,000 warriors with them. How come none of them noticed the formation under the plaza? Could it be that none of the 10,000 warriors were proficient in formations? What was more, the two human sovereign realm warriors rushed into the plaza with their armies. There were armies all around the plaza, but they didn't attack. Instead, they flew into the plaza first and then spread out to attack. Lu Li felt that. They were like a bunch of wild boars running into a trap. This was too much of a coincidence. Was the drifting cloud hall lucky, or were the two human sovereign realm warriors of the three forces dumb? Ha ha ha. While Lu Li was wondering, he heard a loud laughter coming from the distance. In the western sky, two powerful auras filled the air. The loud laughter instantly attracted the attention of countless people. Human sovereign realm warriors? Two of them. Lu Li was even more shocked when he took a look. Two more human sovereign realm warriors? They didn't sound like they were from the three forces. Grand Master, Great Patriarch. Countless warriors of the drifting cloud hall yelled in excitement, their faces filled with joy. Lu Li squinted his eyes. The Grand Master of the drifting cloud hall was here? The Great Patriarch of the blazing cloud city was here as well? Could it be that these two people could fly? Otherwise, how could they come back from the other cities in such a short time? Lu Li looked at Lu Ling again. She was calm and confident. Suddenly, Lu Li understood something. It was obvious. Everything was within Lu Ling's plan. The departure of the Grand Master of the Drifting Cloud Hall was part of her plan. The Grand Master of the Drifting Cloud Hall didn't go to the other two cities. He only teleported to a nearby city. Or there might be a teleportation formation built nearby. The Grand Master of the Drifting Cloud Hall teleported back as soon as he teleported to another city. Without the teleportation formation, the Grand Master of the Drifting Cloud Hall wouldn't be able to get back to the Drifting Cloud City in less than an hour. Impressive, Lu Li exclaimed. He was happy at the same time. Lu Ling seemed to be more resourceful than before. No wonder those old guys trusted her so much. The demon trapping formation trapped two human sovereign realm warriors and more than 10,000 powerful warriors of the three forces. The Grand Master and Great Patriarch of the Drifting Cloud Hall had returned. The outcome of the battle was set in stone. The three forces had lost 2 human sovereign realm warriors. They were destined to be wiped out by the Drifting Cloud Hall. The only thing that Luli could not figure out was that the 2 human sovereign realm warriors that were trapped in the demon trapping formation were so stupid that they dashed into the formation like moths to a flame. Charge! The warriors on the city wall were boosted up. They began to fight back. The morale of the 3 forces was dropping. But their family patriarchs, and commanders were trapped in the demon trapping formation. How could the 3 forces watch them die? Therefore, they tried their best to kill their way into the city and destroy the demon trapping formation. However, could they get close to the demon trapping formation? There were 2 million warriors surrounding the formation. They would not be allowed to attack the formation. Ha ha ha. The Grand Master and Great Patriarch of the Drifting Cloud Hall dashed over with hundreds of warriors like 2 shooting stars. Luli didn't pay attention to the warriors outside. He went to the plaza and saw the 2 human sovereign realm warriors of the Drifting Cloud Hall clearly. The Grand Master of the Drifting Cloud Hall was tall and strong, like a human-shaped beast. His curly hair draped over his shoulders. He appeared to be in his 40s or 50s, and his hair was still black. His chi and blood were raging. Looking from the distance, he looked like a human-shaped beast with a ferocious look. The other one was an amiable-looking old man with white hair and beard. He had a truncheon in his hand. His white beard reached his knees. His smile was quite pleasant. "Brother Yu." The Drifting Cloud Hall Master's hand glowed as a huge black axe appeared in his hand. The axe gave off a blood-red glow and a chilly feeling. Needless to say, it was a holy grade weapon. Chapter 583. Okay, let's kill the fairy wolf first. The white-bearded old man laughed. He waved the truncheon in his hand, and a glow rose up to the sky. The glow was getting brighter and brighter, as if he had transformed into a sun. But the glow was not blinding. Instead, there was a sense of holiness that made people feel comfortable. 7th rank holy light, profound meaning. Luli was a bit upset. If it weren't for this old man, Luling wouldn't have to suffer so much. He would have found her and taken her back to the northern desert a long time ago. Therefore, even though the old man looked kind, Luli didn't like him at all. The white-bearded old man had become a mass of light. It was hard to tell who he was. A surge of horrifying chi and energy spread out from him. It was as if a god was going to punish the world and destroy it. At the same time, the Drifting Cloud Hall Master made his move. A purple glare came out from his neck. Following that, streams of purple water came out from his neck. He brandished the giant axe and controlled the netherworld spring to turn into a giant water dragon that spiraled in the air. The dragon's might shook the heavens, and everyone was moved. Many warriors of the 3 forces stopped charging. Warriors of the Drifting Cloud Hall stopped as well. They looked into the sky, waiting for the 2 to make their moves. Roar! Inside the demon trapping formation, 2 human sovereign realm warriors were pressed to the ground. One of them, an old man with a vicious look in his eyes, raised his head and howled. His expression was ferocious, like a lone wolf in a hopeless situation. His howl was filled with sorrow and grievance. "Moo!" The Drifting Cloud Hall Master bellowed. The white-bearded old man gathered up a white glare and shot out a column of light toward the master of the Silver Wolf Mountain. At the same time, the Drifting Cloud Hall Master wielded his axe. The axe transformed into a black dragon in midair and intertwined with the water dragon. The 2 dragons dashed toward the master of the Silver Wolf Mountain. "Roar!" The master of the Silver Wolf Mountain Master bellowed again. His eyes were filled with despair, like a lone wolf on the verge of death. It was silent. It was as if the world had disappeared to everyone. The only thing left was the column of light, the 2 black and blue dragons, and the master of the Silver Wolf Mountain Master's desperate eyes. "Oomph!" A heavy snort sounded like a sudden clap of thunder. Then, a figure appeared in front of the demon trapping array. A small shield appeared in his hand. The shield was golden in color, and the patterns on it were complicated and profound. Mysterious characters were faintly shining on it. The golden shield instantly grew larger, and an inexplicable aura emanated from it. This aura was even more domineering and thick, and it actually suppressed the powerful aura released by the few Ren wings. Demigod artifact. Luli was taken aback. He himself had a quasi-relic, and so did Jimeng Tian. He was very familiar with semi-divine artifacts. The mysterious runes were the characteristics of a semi-divine artifact. A strange change occurred in the battlefield. An unfamiliar expert suddenly descended and directly intervened in the battle. Lu Ling didn't seem to be surprised at all. Instead, there was a trace of joy and excitement in her eyes. She opened her red lips and murmured, "He really came?" Boom! The holy light and the blue and black dragons landed on the huge golden shield. But there was no explosion. The shield glowed and trembled. Then, the two dragons fell apart. The black dragon flew back in the form of an axe. The holy light from the white-bearded old man collapsed as well. Hiss, hiss, many gasped. They stared at the huge golden shield in astonishment. What kind of Xian artifact was this? How could it withstand the fatal strikes from two human sovereign realm warriors? Chulong, master of the drifting cloud hall, was filled with anger. He shouted, "What is the meaning of the Palace of Sun? Are you trying to help the three forces against the drifting cloud hall?" Behind the shield was a stalwart young man. He came out from a shield, looked at master of the drifting cloud hall with a cold smile, and said, "Tu and I, a few days ago, I was expelled from the Palace of Sun and joined the Silver Wolf Mountain. Now, I have nothing to do with the Palace of Sunday. You want to kill the master of the Silver Wolf Mountain. I cannot stand by and do nothing." Good, good, good. Master of the Drifting Cloud Hall, Tu and I, laughed out of anger. Many warriors of the Drifting Cloud Hall were filled with grief and indignation. Leaving the Palace of Sun to join the Silver Wolf Mountain? What a lame excuse. Not even a 3-year-old would believe it. "Brother you," Tu and I shouted, "since Chu Long said that he has left the Palace of Sun and joined the Silver Wolf Mountain, then we don't need to be polite. Let's kill this bastard together." "Okay." Whitebeard, who had mastered the holy light profound meaning, shouted. He flew out and dashed toward Chu Long with Tu and I. Chu Long had a quasi-relic shield. Long-range attacks were ineffective. Close combat was the only option. What was more, Chu Long was outside the demon trapping formation. They were afraid that Chu Long would break the demon trapping formation and let the master of the Silver Wolf Mountain out. By then, it would be 2 against 3, and they would be at a disadvantage. Luli was worried. He knew something about the demon trapping formation. It was hard to break from the inside, but easy from the outside. Could Tu and I and Whitebeard kill Chu Long before he broke the formation? If not, the outcome of today's fight would be uncertain. Luli looked at Lu Ling out of instinct. Somehow, he was relieved to see that she was still calm. But he was also confused. Did she have other plans since she was so calm? That being said, the Drifting Cloud Hall only had 2 human sovereign realm warriors. Could she create 1 or 2 more out of thin air? Boom, boom, the fight had begun. Tu and I and Whitebeard were attacking Chu Long of the Palace of Sun, but Chu Long was moving around the demon trapping formation and smashing at it with his hand. Chu Long's strategy was good. He used his quasi-relic to defend against the attacks from 2 human sovereign realm warriors while he focused on the demon trapping formation. As long as the demon trapping formation was broken and master of the Silver Wolf Mountain and Whitebeard were released, the tables would be turned. Today, the Drifting Cloud City would be plunged into chaos. Average warriors could not intervene in a fight like this. Not even warriors at the peak of the Noble Lord realm could. Human Sovereign Realm warriors had force fields that prevented them from getting close. Luli moved closer to Lu Ling, thinking that if things went south, he would shock her soul and take her away by force. Luli was faster than the initial stage of the Human Sovereign Realm. The few Human Sovereign Realm warriors here were all at the initial stage, so they should not be able to catch up with him. What was more, nobody would care about a nobody like Luli. Boom, boom, boom. Demon trapping formation was shaking. Tu and I and Whitebeard's attacks were all fended off by the quasi-relic shield. Chu Long of the Palace of Sun was more slippery than a loach. Warriors of the Drifting Cloud Hall were all around. Two and Whitebeard were still holding back. Many powerful warriors of the Drifting Cloud Hall felt the gloom in their eyes. Once the demon trapping formation was broken, 3 human sovereign realm warriors against 2 human sovereign realm warriors would be doomed. The Drifting Cloud Hall only had 2 human sovereign realm warriors. There would not be any reinforcements. Boom, strong as the demon trapping formation was, it could be cracked from the outside. Accompanied by an earth-shattering explosion, the blue barrier of the demon trapping formation finally shattered. Master of the Silver Wolf Mountain and Master of the Lotus Society flew up like 2 angry dragons freed from their shackles. However, something that shocked countless people happened right away. Master of the Silver Wolf Mountain and Master of the Lotus Society rushed up and released their most powerful attacks at Chu Long of the Palace of Sun at the same time. Bang! Chu Long was in the middle of defending against the attacks of 2NI and Whitebeard. Even though he sensed the killing intent behind him, there was no way for him to run away. His body exploded into a rain of blood. Chapter 584. It was a mess. Even Luli was confused. He didn't know what was going on. The Drifting Cloud Hall was at war with the 3 forces. The Palace of Sun didn't intervene at first. Clearly, they were trying to suppress the Drifting Cloud Hall. When the war broke out, Master of Silver Wolf Mountain and Master of Lotus Society were trapped in the demon trapping formation and ambushed. When they were on the verge of death, a human sovereign realm warrior came out from the Palace of Sun and saved them. Theoretically speaking, were the 3 forces on the same side as the Palace of Sun? If so, why didn't the Master of Silver Wolf Mountain and Master of Silver Wolf Mountain attack Master of Drifting Cloud Hall instead of Chu Long after they were saved, biting the hand that fed them? Or were the Master of Silver Wolf Mountain and Master of Silver Wolf Mountain out of their minds? Looking at Chu Long, who had been reduced to a pile of blood, many people opened their mouths wide in confusion. Not only warriors of the Drifting Cloud Hall, warriors of the 3 forces were stunned as well. They couldn't figure out what was going on. Wait. Luli suddenly turned to Lu Ling, seeing the smile in her pretty eyes. Luli suddenly understood something. He had been wondering why the Master of Silver Wolf Mountain and Master of Lotus Society were so stupid. They rushed into the plaza and were trapped. Now, he came to his senses. This was a setup as well. The 2 of them were trapped on purpose so they could kill the warriors of the Palace of Sun. In other words, the 3 forces and the Drifting Cloud Hall were on the same side. They put on a show to deal with the Palace of Sun together. Upon reaching this conclusion, Lu Li's mind was in turmoil. This was a grand scheme that was beyond his imagination. If all this was planned by Lu Ling, then this sister of hers was horrifying. Whoosh, whoosh, from the distance came 2 noises, which woke Luli up from his thoughts, and so did everyone else. From the north, 2 human sovereign realm warriors came over like shooting stars. One of them shouted from the distance, Chu Long. Hu Lang, are you out of your mind? Why do you want to kill Chu Long? The other burly man in golden armor shouted in a stern voice. His eyes were still filled with disbelief. Chu Long helped the 2 escape, and they tried to kill Chu Long? Hu Lang could not accept this. The Mountain Master of Celestial Wolf Mountain sneered. Palace Master Chu Yang, do you still not understand? We are in cahoots with 2NI. Wow, the crowd was in an uproar. The 6 million people of the Drifting Cloud Hall and the 3 forces could not believe it. After such a long battle, and with so many casualties, the Celestial Wolf Mountain chieftain was now saying that the 2 sides were actually in cahoots. Both sides are actually acting. Kill! Too long, the Master of the Drifting Cloud Hall didn't waste any time. He roared and dashed toward the 2 human sovereign realm warriors from the Palace of Sunday. The other 3 human sovereign realm warriors did not hesitate. They shot forward and began to attack the 2 human sovereign realm warriors from the Palace of Sunday. Warriors of the 3 forces and the Drifting Cloud Hall were in panic. They all stopped fighting, not knowing what to do. They could only watch the fight in the sky stupidly. There were too many tricks outside. Some people were scared and wanted to go back to the tribe. It's so lively. I won't hide anymore. Let's have some fun together. In the northern mountains, an old man flew up and joined the battle. His target was still the two Ren Huang from the Palace of Sunday. The three forces originally had 3 human sovereign realm warriors, and now all of them had shown up. Even though the master of the Palace of Sun was at the middle stage of the human sovereign realm, 5 human sovereign realm warriors were fighting against 2 human sovereign realm warriors. If everything went well, the 3 human sovereign realm warriors of the Palace of Sun would all die here today. The Clouds Plains is a chess piece, and the forces and the human sovereign realm warriors of the Clouds Plains are all chess pieces. Luli exclaimed. Today's fight was so exciting. There were several reversals. He didn't expect that things would end up like this. Luli finally understood why Lu Ling was so calm when the master of the Silver Wolf Mountain charged into the Drifting Cloud City and when Chu Long of the Palace of Sun showed up. All of this was within her expectations. All the chess pieces were moving according to her plan. Why would she panic or be afraid? We will talk about everything after the fight. Luli recalled Lu Ling's words. He was touched. This fight was indeed important. Lu Ling must have put in a lot of effort and planned for a long time. She could not let Lu Li's affairs affect this fight. After this fight, the Clouds Plains will change. Lu Li sighed, looking at the 2 human sovereign realm warriors of the Palace of Sun being surrounded by the 5 human sovereign realm warriors. The 2 human sovereign realm warriors of the Palace of Sun were struggling and could be killed at any time. With the death of the 3 human sovereign realm warriors of the Palace of Sun, the Drifting Cloud Hall would naturally become the most powerful force. Luli was confused. Why would the 3 forces ally with the Drifting Cloud Hall? Didn't the 2 forces share a blood feud? How come it joined hands so easily? What was more, after the Palace of Sun was destroyed, the Drifting Cloud Hall would be the leader. The 3 forces would still be inferior to the Drifting Cloud Hall. They could have some territories and interests, but the Drifting Cloud Hall would take most of the profits. Would the 3 forces be so stupid as to work for others? Boom! All of a sudden, a huge castle in the city exploded, which caught many people's attention. Because there was already a ceasefire in the city, it was hard not to attract attention when a battle broke out in a castle, and even caused such a large castle to collapse. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. I am a disciple of the Ji family of the Samsara Palace. You cannot kill me. A man suddenly flew out from the castle. He was riding a 5-layered fate wheel. His blue hair was eye-catching. As he flew away, he shouted at the top of his lungs. His voice was extremely loud, and it was filled with terror. However, as soon as he flew up, a ray of sword energy shot out from the castle and cut him in half. What? Go and see what is going on. We must take the murderer down. For the first time, Lu Ling's calmness changed. Lu Li's expressions changed as well when he heard the name of the Samsara Palace. He smelled the conspiracy. The fighting in the city had stopped. The human sovereign realm warriors were fighting. Who would dare to kill at this moment? More importantly, that man shouted that he was a disciple of the Ji family of the Samsara Palace, and yet he was killed in public. There was something very wrong with this situation. Lu Li wouldn't believe that there wasn't a conspiracy. He turned to Lu Ling, who happened to be looking at him. They looked at each other, and both sensed something was wrong. Several patriarchs had already flown over, trying to take down the murderer. The Drifting Cloud Hall could not take the blame. Otherwise, it would give the Samsara Palace an excuse to intervene openly. Buzzing before the patriarchs came back, the space above the Drifting Cloud City began to tremble. Then, a man in a black robe came out. A surge of violent chi and energy enveloped the entire city. This man was dozens of times more powerful than the Master of Palace of Sunday, Earth, Immortal Realm. Lu Ling's eyes were filled with bitterness. She uttered the 2 words. Lu Li put on a mocking grin. He had just smelled the conspiracy, and now it was revealed. He didn't even have to think about it. If this man were not an Earth Immortal Realm warrior of the Samsara Palace, Lu Li would have eaten the divine weapon of Dragon King alive. How dare you? The Earth Immortal Realm warrior in midair glared at the blue-haired young man who was cut in half. He flew into a rage and said, "How dare you kill a young master of the Ji family? We don't care about the disputes of the Clouds Plains, but you have killed a disciple of the Ji family. Today, all of you will die with our young master." All of you? Lu Li's eyes grew colder. This earth immortal realm warrior of the Samsara Palace was trying to silence them. As long as he killed everyone in the city, there would be no evidence, even if the Central Plains learned about it. It was clear now. The Palace of Sun must be colluding with the Samsara Palace. This earth immortal realm warrior must have been watching nearby. Seeing that the two human sovereign realm warriors of the Palace of Sun were about to be killed, he had to come up with a lame scheme and force his way in. Once again, the tables had turned. P.S. Happy National Day. You have a National Day holiday, but I have to stay at home and write. How miserable. I haven't asked for monthly votes for months. Today, I will get double. At the beginning of the month, everyone has a guaranteed monthly vote. I should give some to the old man. It would be humiliating if my ranking was too low. Chapter 585. The reversal of the situation was not within Lu Ling's expectation. She looked awful. If it were just one human sovereign realm warrior, it wouldn't be a big deal. Even if there were two, it wouldn't be a big deal. But this was an earth immortal realm warrior, an immortal on the earth. Sovereign among humans and immortal on the earth were two different concepts. No matter how powerful a sovereign among humans was, he was still a human being. But immortals on the earth were different. Those that could be compared to immortals or immortals were not to be messed with. At the Great Land, the difference between realms was huge. The further one progressed, the more obvious it would be. A noble lord realm warrior could defeat many at the eternal realm, and a human sovereign realm warrior could defeat many at the noble lord realm. It was the same for earth immortal realm warriors. There were only 5 human sovereign realm warriors on Lu Ling's side. Even with the 2 from the Palace of Sun, it still wouldn't be enough. Dozens of warriors at the initial stage of the human sovereign realm might not be a match for an earth immortal realm warrior. Lu Ling was wise. She could treat the entire Clouds Plains as a chessboard and all the forces and warriors as chess pieces. She could manipulate everyone in the palm of her hand, but this earth immortal realm warrior was not a chess piece. He was a chess breaker that could defeat all with his strength. Phew, Lu Ling breathed out. At this moment, she seemed to have lost all her strength. She was listless. She had planned this for a long time and spent so much manpower, resources, and energy. She was so close to success, but she failed on the verge of success. She had guessed that the Palace of Sun had colluded with the Samsara Palace. But that was in the dark. On the surface, the Samsara Palace would not meddle in the affairs of the Clouds Plains. The Samsara Palace didn't care about the small Clouds Plains either. But it just so happened that the Samsara Palace had an earth immortal realm warrior at the Clouds Plains. She didn't know that the Samsara Palace could be so shameless. They had found a lame plot and an excuse to force their way into the affairs of the Clouds Plains. The most powerful force at the Central Plains was so shameless. Later on, you can escape by yourself. This battle, you've lost. Lu Ling suddenly looked at Lu Li and said softly. She had no memory of Lu Li, but she could tell that he was an important person in her life. She didn't want Lu Li to die here. Since the Earth Immortal Realm Warrior showed up, Lu Li's eyebrows had been knitted together. An Earth Immortal was too strong. He could kill everyone by himself. No matter how much they struggled or resisted, they would be smashed into pieces by an Earth Immortal. Hearing her words and seeing the determination to die in her eyes, Lu Li's expressions became colder. After a moment of hesitation, he suddenly tore off the disguise and wiped his face with some clean water. Then, he flew up to the sky and a white jade talisman appeared in his hand. He laughed and used the dragon roar to amplify his voice. He shouted, "I have seen Ji Mengtian's shamelessness. I thought it was only a small number of people in the Ji family. I didn't expect the entire Ji family to be so shameless. Old dog of the Ji family, you are so unscrupulously involved in the affairs of Cloud State. Aren't you afraid that the other 11 royal families will make trouble for your Samsara Palace?" The dragon cry divine skill was very powerful. Its voice shook the heavens and the earth, causing some people's eardrums to hurt. All the warriors stopped fighting after the Earth Immortal Realm Warrior arrived. It was quiet everywhere. Lu Li's voice was loud and clear. Wow, Lu Li's words caused an uproar. Many people looked at the G family Earth, immortal realm warrior, with grief and indignation. This was an internal dispute of the Cloud's plains. They were angry and unhappy that the Samsara Palace had intervened. What was more, this Earth immortal realm warrior wanted to kill all of them, courting death. The G family Earth immortal realm warrior flew into a rage. He was about to smash Lu Li to death. But Lu Li laughed before he could and shouted, "Old dog of the G family, do you know who I am? Are you sure that the Samsara Palace can stand the wrath of the Grand Master of the Demon-Slaying Hall if you kill me?" The G family Earth, immortal realm warrior's hand stopped in midair. The words Grand Master of the Demon-Slaying Hall stunned him. He took a closer look at Lu Li and shouted in surprise, "You are Lu Li?" "Ha ha ha." Lu Li laughed and said, "You are smart. If you had the guts to kill me just now, I would have crushed the jade talisman given to me by the Grand Master. Considering his skills, I think he'll be here soon. Are you sure that you can kill everyone here and cover up the truth in such a short time?" Lu Li held up a jade talisman. Naturally, it was not given to him by the Grand Master of the Demon-Slaying Hall. Lu Li was only using it to scare the G family Earth immortal realm warrior. As long as he could scare the Earth immortal realm warrior away, the outcome of the fight would be settled. "Lu Li!" The G family Earth immortal realm warrior shouted, clenching his teeth. Lu Li was a disgrace to the G family and the Samsara Palace. Ji Mengtian and the others were still exiled to the Blood Realm. Lu Li had humiliated the four forces at the Demon-Slaying Hall. That being said, the Grand Master of the Demon-Slaying Hall intervened, and Lu Li escaped unscathed. The Grand Master even protected Lu Li for 10 years. The Samsara Palace and the other three forces could only swallow the bitter pill in silence. They had been humiliated for nothing and had to wait for 10 years to wash away the shame. The Earth Immortal Realm Warrior didn't expect that he would run into Lu Li at the Cloud's Plains today. The Earth Immortal Realm Warrior was filled with killing intent. He almost wanted to kill Lu Li directly, but in the end he did. The Samsara Palace could not afford to offend the Demon-Slaying Hall, not to mention disobeying the will of the Grand Master of the Demon-Slaying Hall. The Grand Master of the Demon-Slaying Hall was the most powerful man in the world. Nobody could challenge his will and authority. The Earth Immortal Realm Warrior's eyes flickered. For a moment, he was in a dilemma. Lu Ling and the others' eyes glowed. How could Lu Li intimidate the G family Earth Immortal Realm Warrior? It seemed like things were going to take a turn. The G family Earth Immortal Realm Warrior snorted and said, "Lu Li, aren't you at the Northern Desert? What does this have to do with you? The Drifting Cloud Hall killed disciples of the G family. Can I get back at them? This has nothing to do with you. Leave now. For the sake of the Grand Master of the Demon-Slaying Hall, I will not make things difficult for you." The G family Earth Immortal Realm Warrior's words lit up Lu Ling and the others' eyes again. The G family Earth Immortal Realm Warrior did not have the courage to hurt Lu Li. It seemed that there was a powerful warrior behind Lu Li. Lu Ling and many others didn't know what the Grand Master of the Demon-Slaying Hall meant. Only the Master of Palace of Sun and some human sovereign realm warriors knew. Nonsense! How could Lu Li leave? Pointing to Lu Ling, Lu Li said, "My sister is the saintess of the Drifting Cloud Hall. The Drifting Cloud Hall is my territory. If you dare to kill anyone from the Drifting Cloud Hall, I will go to the Samsara Palace and kill everyone I see. Do you have the guts to kill me?" Lu Li began to act shamelessly. The Samsara Palace wouldn't touch him for 10 years anyway. He could go to the Samsara Palace and make a scene. Even if he couldn't kill the important ones of the Samsara Palace, he could humiliate the Samsara Palace again. "How dare you?" The G family warrior flew into a rage. He said angrily, "Your sister is the saintess of the Drifting Cloud Hall. So the Drifting Cloud Hall is your territory? If your sister joins the Palace of Sun tomorrow, does that mean the Palace of Sun is your territory as well? You are being unreasonable. I will fight you even if I have to go to the Demon-Slaying Hall." "You are wrong." Chapter 586. All under my command? Lu Ling's words were met with scorn by many, especially those from the three forces. Many of them were sneering at her. They didn't know why their three leaders had joined hands with the Drifting Cloud Hall, but they were certain that the three forces would never surrender to the drifting cloud hall, not to mention a girl at the noble lord realm. Lu Ling's words were not believed by many warriors. Even Lu Li thought she was lying, not to mention the Earth Immortal Realm warrior of the Ji family. Soon, the Ji family warrior sneered and said, "Girl, aren't you afraid that you will lose your tongue? How can you say something like that? How can a warrior of the noble lord realm command the drifting cloud hall and the three forces?" Ha ha. Lu Ling tore off the veil on her face, revealing her breathtakingly beautiful face. She said with a gentle smile, "Jerk of the Ji family, if I am just making empty promises, I will kill myself in front of everyone, and I will tell my brother to leave the Clouds Plains immediately and stay out of the business here. But what if I am not lying? What will you do?" Many people were in an uproar. Lu Ling was putting her own life on the line. Was she really the commander-in-chief of the Drifting Cloud Hall and the three forces? But how come they didn't know? Moreover, wasn't this a little too absurd? The Earth Immortal Realm warrior of the Ji family was hesitant. He was afraid to answer Lu Ling's question for fear that he would be tricked. After all, nobody would put their own life on the line. That being said, he used psychic power to check the warriors down below. Many of them were confused and mocking. He felt that Lu Ling was tricking him. He thought about it and said, "Girl, if you can provide evidence to prove that you are the commander-in-chief of the Drifting Cloud Hall and the three forces, this old man won't ask about the matter of my Ji family's disciple being killed." The Ji family warrior was careful. He didn't say that he would kill himself if he lost the bet. He just said that he would stay out of today's matter. If Lu Ling really was the commander-in-chief of the Drifting Cloud Hall and the three forces, then it would be perfectly justifiable for Lu Li to intervene. If he insisted on intervening, he would be making himself Lu Li's enemy. The Samsara Palace didn't have the courage to deal with Lu Li openly. That would be challenging the Grand Master of the Demon-Slaying Hall. Okay, Lu Ling put on a gentle smile. She glanced at Tu Ni, Master of the Drifting Cloud Hall and Master of the Silver Wolf Mountain. The 5 human sovereign realm warriors were surrounding the two from the Palace of Sunday. They stood side by side, dropped to one knee, and shouted, "Greetings, Saint Lord." Wow, the entire place was boiling with excitement. Many people were dumbfounded to see the 5 human sovereign realm warriors on their knees. Lu Li was stunned as well. Ji family progenitor could not believe it. 5 human sovereigns knelt to a girl at the middle stage of the noble lord realm and called her Saint Lord? Wasn't this a joke? The total age of the 5 human emperors was at least a few thousand years old, right? How old was Lu Ling? It was the biggest joke in the world. Tu and I glanced at the warriors of the Drifting Cloud Hall and shouted coldly, "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and pay your respects to the sacred leader." Tu and I was the master of the Drifting Cloud Hall. No one dared to disobey his order. Many patriarchs dropped to their knees at once. The other warriors followed suit and shouted, "Greetings, Saint Lord." Master of the Silver Wolf Mountain, Master of the Palace of Black Moon, and Master of the Lotus Society shouted at the same time. The three forces dropped to their knees as well. The Ji family Earth Immortal Realm Warrior and the 2 human Sovereign Realm Warriors of the Palace of Sun looked at each other in shock. The 3 powerful warriors checked the 5 human Sovereign Realm Warriors with psychic power. Soon, the Ji family Earth Immortal Realm Warriors shouted in surprise, "No wonder. Girl, you are clever. Even I have been tricked by you." Lu Ling remained calm. She stood in midair, her dress swaying in the wind. She was as ethereal as a goddess. She smiled coldly and said, "Jerk of the Ji family, leave now. From today on, the entire Clouds Plains will be our territory. If the Samsara Palace dares to plot against the Clouds Plains again, we will go to the Demon-Slaying Hall and ask the Grand Master to do us justice." With that said, Lu Ling shouted again, "Tu and I, what are you waiting for? Chu Yang, you have 2 choices. Either you surrender to me, or your Chu family will be wiped out." Whoosh, 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 Tu and I and the other 4 took actions at once without any hesitation. Chu Yang and the Master of the Palace of Sun were already badly injured. It would be difficult for them to run away. They had to fight back while looking at the Ji family Earth Immortal Realm Warrior for help. The G family Earth Immortal Realm Warrior stayed. He was struggling internally. The Palace of Sun had been surrendering to the Samsara Palace secretly. The Clouds Plains was originally under the control of the Samsara Palace. How could he let Lu Li take it away? You bastard! Seeing that the G family Earth Immortal Realm Warrior was hesitating, Lu Li shouted again. He even used Dragon Roar. Raising the Jade Talisman in his hand, Lu Li shouted, I will count to 3. If you don't leave the Clouds Plains, I will crush the Jade Talisman and inform the Grandmaster. Unless you have the guts and ability to kill all of us, get out of my sight. 1, 2. The G family Earth Immortal Realm Warrior was struggling. If Lu Li really informed the Grandmaster of the Demon-Slaying Hall, then the Samsara Palace would be in big trouble. Losing a small Clouds Plains was nothing for the Samsara Palace. But if the Grandmaster was enraged, the Samsara Palace might suffer more losses. Bastard, I will let you be arrogant for a while. The Grandmaster will only protect you for 10 years. Let's see how you will die after 10 years. The G family Earth Immortal Realm Warrior said while gnashing his teeth. He flew into the distance in rage and soon vanished into the northeast. Boom, boom, boom. At the same time, Master of the Silver Wolf Mountain, Tu and I and Master of the Palace of Black Moon attacked Chu Yang together. Chu Yang's body smashed down like a meteor, smashing a castle below him into pieces. At the same time, the powerful shockwave of the attack also killed hundreds of people nearby. Go to hell. Celestial Wolf Mountain's mountain chieftain's body turned into a series of afterimages. While those afterimages were still in midair, his real body had already rushed into the collapsed palace and clawed Chu Yang to death. Surrender, I surrender. The remaining human sovereign realm warrior of the Palace of Sun was covered in blood. Seeing that the G family Earth Immortal Realm Warrior had left and that the Master of the Palace of Sun was dead, he knew there was nothing he could do. If he didn't, not only would he die, none of the disciples of the Chu family would survive. Saint Lord, Tu and I turned to Lu Ling, waiting for her order. Lu Ling waved her hand and said, Bring him to the main hall. Tu and I have someone clean up the battlefield and deal with the aftermath. Lu Ling, Lu Li, and several human sovereign realm warriors brought the ones from the Palace of Sun to the drifting cloud hall. Finally, the war had come to an end, but many were still standing where they were. Their wounds were still bleeding, but they had no idea. They felt like they had just had a dream. It was so unreal, so funny. In the main hall, Lu Ling and Lu Li flew in first. 3 human sovereign realm warriors escorted the one from the Palace of Sun in. One human sovereign realm warrior stood in front of Lu Ling in case the one from the Palace of Sun made a desperate move to hurt her. Lu Ling glowed in red. A red pellet came into being in her hand. The pellet was pulsating like a ball of fire. She threw the pellet over, looked at the human sovereign realm warrior of the Palace of Sun, and said, Chu Chung, eat it and you can live. This is the only remaining human sovereign realm warrior of the Palace of Sun. Chu Chung took over the pellet. He could feel the surging energy inside. He knew that this was not a tonic. It was very likely that he would become Lu Ling's slave for the rest of his life after eating it. At this moment, he understood why the 5 human sovereign realm warriors regarded Lu Ling as their master. They must have taken the pellet, and their souls were under Lu Ling's control. Chapter 587. After a moment of hesitation, Chu Chung made up his mind and swallowed it. A moment later, his entire body lit up with red light. Following that, red patterns appeared on his face and exposed muscles. Lily took a closer look. They were small phoenixes. He was shocked. The red pellet must have something to do with Lu Ling's fire phoenix birth. Chu Cheng's muscles trembled. He seemed to be in pain. After the time for half an incense stick to burn, the red glow on his body disappeared and he returned to normal. He opened his eyes and looked at Lu Ling. There was no more hatred in his eyes. He dropped to one knee with respect and said, Saint Lord. Okay. Lu Ling put on a gentle smile. She looked at Lu Li and said, This is called Fire Phoenix Soul Pellet. It is made with my Fire Phoenix energy. You will be my Phoenix slave after you eat it. Just as I thought, Lu Li murmured. At this moment, all the puzzles were solved. After Lu Ling was brought to the Cloud's Plains, she used this pellet to secretly control the drifting Cloud Home Master and Great Patriarch. Then, she secretly controlled the human sovereign realm warriors of the three forces. In the end, she set up a trap to lure out the human sovereign realm warrior of the Palace of Sunday. Her goal was to unify the Cloud's Plains and become the Emperor of the Cloud's Plains. More than 2 years ago, Lu Ling was just a weak girl. She was abducted by Ghost Snake Granny and then taken to the Cloud's Plains again. In 2 years, not only did Lu Ling reach the Noble Lord realm, she was also secretly plotting to unify the entire Cloud's Plains. Nobody would believe it if they didn't see it with their own eyes. Sister. Lu Li turned to Lu Ling, pointed to the white-bearded old man, and said, I think your soul is sealed by him. You can ask him to undo it. Yes, I know. Lu Ling nodded. She turned to Tu and I and said, Tu and I, Hu Lang, Chu Chung, go and organize the army. We will march to the Palace of Sun at once. I will give you 1 month. If you cannot unify the Cloud's Plains in a month, you will come to me with your heads. Yes. Tu and I, Hu Lang and Hu Lang left, leaving 3 human sovereign realm warriors behind. Lu Ling looked at the white-bearded old man and said, Yu Ping, did you seal my memory? Yu Ping nodded honestly and said, Saint Lord, when I brought you back, you wanted to go back to the northern desert and had no heart to cultivate. I was afraid that it would affect your cultivation, so I forcefully sealed your past memories. Oomph. Lu Ling snorted and said coldly, What are you waiting for? The white-bearded old man hurried over. A ray of white light came out from his hand and attached to Lu Ling's head. Soon, there was a trace of pain on her face. Lu Li looked on nervously. After an hour, the pain disappeared from her face. After a while, Yu Ping took his hand back and stood on the side with respect. Lu Li looked at Lu Ling nervously and said, Sis. Lu Ling's eyelashes trembled. She didn't open her eyes at once. Her breaths were short. After the time for 1 incense stick to burn, she slowly opened her eyes and looked at Lu Li. Sister. Seeing the familiar look in Lu Ling's eyes, Lu Li trembled and shouted. Still, Lu Ling said nothing. She looked at Lu Li with tears running down her cheeks. Her tears flowed down her cheeks and landed on the ground, producing a crisp sound. Sister. Lu Li could not hold back his emotions anymore. He hugged Lu Ling, and she did the same. She hugged him tightly, as if she was afraid that Lu Li would disappear. The sister and brother cried bitterly. It took them the time for 3 incense sticks to burn to calm down. Lu Ling patted Lu Li's back and pushed him away. Then, she waved her hand to let the 3 human sovereign realm warriors leave. When everyone was gone, she caressed Lu Li's face and said, Lu Li, am I dreaming? How have you been living all these years? How did you find your way to the Cloud's Plains? Ha! Lu Li was overjoyed that Lu Ling had her memory back. He said with a shy smile, Sister, you are not dreaming. I have been looking for you for over 2 years. I have searched the entire Central Plains, but I could not find you. Then, by chance, I found a passageway to the Serenity Plains in one of my small worlds. I sent someone to the Serenity Plains and learned that you were at the Cloud's Plains. You have searched the entire Central Plains? Lu Ling raised her eyebrows and asked, You have gone back to the Central Plains? You have gone back to the Lu family? Yes. Lu Li nodded and said, I have gone back to the Lu family, but I'm no longer a disciple of the Lu family. I have been driven out. Grandpa is poisoned, and he is still in a coma. The power of the Lu family is in the hands of Grandpa Big Brother. I was framed by Lu Swan. Great Patriarch saved me, but the Lu family announced that I was driven out. Lu Ling pulled a long face. Killing intent rose in her eyes as she said angrily, How dare the Lu family do this to you? I will bring someone back to the Lu family to seek justice for you. Before Lu Li could answer, Lu Ling asked with concern, How have you been all these years? Tell big sister everything that happened to you. You have been wronged. I will avenge you. Lu Li felt like crying when he saw how angry Lu Ling was. After a pause, he began to tell her everything that had happened to him over the years in detail, including what happened at the demon-slaying hall. He didn't hide anything from her. To Lu Li, Lu Ling was the closest person to him in the world. He had no secrets from her. You are the emperor of the northern desert now? You can defeat warriors of a noble lord realm? Lu Ling was moved by Lu Li's story. Lu Li's life over the past 2 years was even more wonderful than hers. He had suffered so much. She touched Lu Li's face with both pride and pity and said, I know my brother is not an average person. You are a real dragon, and you are destined to soar into the sky. I'm so useless. I have made you suffer all these years. Sis, don't say that. Lu Li shook his head and said, I am useless. I've let you wander around for so long and suffer so much. Sis, how do you control those human sovereign realm warriors? It is easy, Lu Ling said coldly. I am a fire phoenix birth, and I have fire phoenix energy in me. Yu Ping and Tu and I both wanted my fire phoenix energy. Therefore, they have been training me. They wanted to wait for the fire phoenix energy to transform into fire phoenix flames and then take my body to absorb the fire phoenix flames. The fire phoenix flames are very useful to warriors. They can transform a warrior's body and give him a great chance to reach the earth immortal realm. I took advantage of their greed and secretly cultivated the Fire Phoenix Soul skill to produce the Fire Phoenix Soul pellet. They didn't know the power of the Soul pellet, and I tricked them into eating it. Their souls were controlled by the Soul pellet, and they became my slaves. Then, I went to the three forces with Tu and I and Yu Ping. I set up a trap for the leaders of the three forces and fed them the Soul pellet. Then, I set up a trap to kill the human sovereign realm warriors of the Palace of Sunday. You know what happened next? This time, I didn't know that the Palace of Sun and the Samsara Palace had such a close relationship. An old man of the Ji family happened to be here. If it weren't for you, I would have failed on the verge of success. Lu Ling said it casually, but Lu Li could hear the danger in her words. Fortunately, it was all over and Lu Ling didn't suffer much harm. Lu Li felt a bit better. Sis, you are amazing. Chapter 588. The battle at the Drifting Cloud City had come to an end, but the Cloud's Plains was not. That being said, all the human sovereign realm warriors were under Lu Ling's control. The outcome of the Cloud's Plains was set in stone. Lu Li sent someone to Yihu and told him to tell God of Meng and the others to go back to Mount Mist. Now that this was over, there was no need for God of Meng to show up. After all, God of Meng and the others were alien races. Many had lost their lives in this battle. The total number of casualties must be more than hundreds of thousands. Lu Li exclaimed to himself how cruel Lu Ling was. If it were him, he wouldn't have made such a plan. He had some understanding of Lu Ling's character. She would be willing to sacrifice herself for her friends and family, but she would be cold-blooded to her enemies. She would be indifferent to people who had nothing to do with her, no matter how many people died. Lu Ling had suffered too much when she was a kid. The harsh world had shaped her character. Lu Li had been protected by Lu Ling since he was a kid, so he didn't feel much. He was milder than Lu Ling. The human sovereign realm warriors went to conquer the forces that hadn't surrendered. Lu Li had to stay with Lu Ling in the Drifting Cloud Hall. Many patriarchs of the Drifting Cloud Hall were under Lu Ling's control. Otherwise, Lady Seven wouldn't have said that many senior warriors trusted Lu Ling. They were all Lu Ling's slaves. How could they disobey her? Lu Ling told Lu Li to take a rest. She had listened to many reports, given many orders, and made many arrangements. She had been working on the Cloud's Plains for a long time. She didn't want anything to go wrong. Lu Li sat in a side hall in a daze. Not long afterward, he heard some footsteps. He looked over with a frown and saw a pretty face. Lady Seven had come to him. Lu Li had just washed up and had resumed his original appearance. Lady Seven was afraid to recognize him. She asked timidly, "Are you Meng Ji?" Lu Li smiled and said, "I am not Meng Ji. I am Lu Li, and I am from the Northern Desert." "Lady Seven, I lied to you. I wanted to use you to find my sister, Lu Ling, your saintess." "Well, I'm sorry. What was done was done." There was no need for Lu Li to lie to Lady Seven. "I knew it." Lady Seven's eyes were filled with tears. She pursed her lips and said, "I say, how could someone like you be a little warrior of our two family? When I saw you flying in the air and talking to the Earth Immortal of the Ji family, I thought I got the wrong person. Lady Seven smiled, a sad smile. Luli had been lying to her and using her. Then, when he said he would take her away from the clouds plains and find a small city to live a comfortable life, it was a lie as well. She stared at Luli with more tears in her eyes. After so many years, she had played with many men, but this was the first time she had real feelings for a man. However, she did not expect that she would be cheated. This was a huge blow to her heart. That's true. Soon after, she wiped her tears and forced a smile. You're so outstanding like the bright moon in the sky. How can a broken flower like me, Tucci, be worthy of a man like you? I'm leaving. Thank you for passing through my life. Lady Seven puckered her lips again. She gave Luli another meaningful look, as if she was trying to engrave him into her soul. Then she strode away, her footsteps never stopping. Luli gazed at the back of Lady Seven with disappointment and said nothing. Behind many prostitutes, there was a sad past. Luli sympathized with Lady Seven, but that didn't mean he could accept her. Everyone had their own life. He was not a savior, and he could not save everyone. What was more, the harsh words left by the G family Earth Immortal Realm Warrior were still hanging over Luli's head like a sword. Luli didn't know if the four forces would join forces to invade the northern desert in 10 years. But the Samsara Palace would not swallow this humiliation. Luli had one human sovereign realm warrior, and Lu Ling had 6. But to fight against the Samsara Palace with such a small force was like throwing an egg against a rock. The Samsara Palace had more than 20 human sovereign realm warriors, not to mention some Earth Immortal Realm warriors. How many human sovereign realm warriors could Lu Li and Lu Ling train in 10 years? 3, 5, 10? They might be lucky enough to train 10 human sovereign realm warriors, but so what? The Samsara Palace could defeat them with just 1 or 2 Earth Immortal Realm warriors. By then, what awaited them would still be tragic. Well, the thought that Lu Ling had 6 human sovereign realm warriors made Luli excited. Finally, he could send someone down to the ice abyss. Previously, Luli sent God of Meng down, but he was not powerful enough. Halfway down, he sensed fatal danger and didn't dare to go further. There were so many human sovereign realm warriors, and they could look after each other. 3 or 4 human sovereign realm warriors could go down and have a look. As long as they could find Lu Ren Huang, they could find a way to bring them back. Sure, Luli told Lu Ling his plan after she was done. She nodded and said, when the Clouds Plains is unified, I will bring 4 human sovereign realm warriors to the ice abyss. Father's jade talisman of life is still intact. At least, he is still alive. Lu Ling took out a jade talisman. It was Lu Ren Huang's jade talisman of life. Back at the Wuling County, she was on fire, but this jade talisman was not damaged. After all, it was a jade talisman of life made by the Lu family for Lu Ren Huang. Not even average warriors could damage it. That night at the Wuling County, Lu Ling and the Zhao family patriarch perished together. She was burned alive. Then, she awakened to Fire Phoenix birth and was reborn. Her lame leg was healed, and her body was transformed into one suitable for cultivation. That was why she could cultivate so fast. What was more, after she came to the Clouds Plains, both Master of the Drifting Cloud Hall and Yu Ping wanted her to improve quickly. Only in this way could she condense the Fire Phoenix energy in her body into Fire Phoenix flames. Therefore, she was given the best mystical materials to help her progress. Luli didn't know much about the miraculous birth, but he knew it must be rare. As soon as Lu Ling revealed her Fire Phoenix birth, Ghost Snake Granny fought for her. This was proof that the miraculous birth was extraordinary. It was understandable that she could reach the middle stage of the Noble Lord realm in 2 years. Lu Ling thought about it with a frown and said, Luli, don't put too much pressure on the 4 forces. You have 10 years. I will work hard. Maybe I can reach the Earth Immortal Realm in 10 years. When I reach the Earth Immortal Realm, my Fire Phoenix flames can burn any Earth Immortal Realm warrior. Okay, Luli nodded and said with a grin, as a matter of fact, as long as I can save my father and mother and wake Xiuxue up, I can hide in the deserted world for the rest of my life, and I will be happy. Lu Ling didn't care. She snorted and said, "You are too gentle. When others bully us, we must find a way to get back at them. We can't be bullied for nothing. It's just the four forces. Give me time, and I will conquer the entire great land. By then, I will make you the emperor of the entire great land, and Lu Zhengtan will kneel before you, begging for mercy." Lu Li was not used to Lu Ling showing off her talents and her wild ambition. That being said, she was his only sister. If she wanted to do something, he would do his best to help her. After a pause, Lu Li nodded and said with a smile, "Okay, we will work hard. One day, we will conquer the entire great land and become the master of this land." P.S. Advance notice. On the 29th of this month, there will be at least 20 chapters. Stay tuned. Chapter 589. Cloud's Plains was soon unified. Tu and I brought Chu Cheng to the territory of the Palace of Sunday. Many families there surrendered at once. Even human sovereign realm warriors of the Palace of Sun had surrendered. Nothing good could come out of their stubbornness. After all, they were just minions. It didn't matter who they followed. Some old warriors of the Palace of Sun were unyielding. They refused to surrender and even accused Chu Cheng of lacking pride. But after Tu and I killed some of them, they behaved themselves. Soon, the Southwest was unified as well. Half of the land there belonged to the three forces, and the other half was divided up by other forces. Hu Lang, the master of the Silver Wolf Mountain, led a team in person and killed all those that refused to surrender. Since the army was traveling by teleportation formations, the speed was fast and the efficiency was high. In just 20 days, news of victory came from everywhere. The Cloud's Plains had basically been unified. One small family had escaped and posed no threat to Lu Ling. Lu Ling sent out an announcement asking all the family patriarchs above the 4th rank to gather at the Drifting Cloud City to discuss the establishment of the empire. Actually, there was no need to discuss anything. Everything was to be done according to Lu Ling's orders. Others had no right to speak. Lu Ling decided to establish the Empire of Cloud's Prowess, corresponding to the Empire of Godly Prowess of the Northern Desert. But Lu Ling didn't become the emperor. Instead, Tu and I became the first emperor of the Empire of Cloud's Prowess. Lu Ling was still the saintess of the Drifting Cloud Hall. She had become the saintess of the Empire of Cloud's Prowess. What surprised many was that Lu Li had become the state counselor. At first, Lu Li wanted to say no when he heard that she wanted him to be the state counselor. But on second thought, he understood what she meant. The 12 royal families of the Central Plains had an agreement, but nobody would say anything if they played some tricks in secret. For example, the Samsara Palace controlled the Palace of Sunday. Lu Li becoming the state counselor of the Empire of Cloud's Prowess meant that the territory was his. Those families that were planning to come to the Cloud's Plains would have to think twice. After all, Lu Li was backed by the Grand Master of the Demon Slaying Hall. It was understandable that Lu Ling didn't want to be the emperor. She was only at the Noble Lord realm. If she were to take the throne by force, many would be dissatisfied. Forces of the Serenity Plains and the Frigid Plains would covet her. After all the human sovereign realm warriors worked for Lu Ling. It didn't matter who the emperor was. Most of the resources of the Cloud's Plains would belong to Lu Ling. Nobody dared to disobey her orders. The resources of the Cloud's Plains frightened Lu Li. Countless mystical materials were collected. Almost all the mystical materials at the Palace of Sun were moved away. There were hundreds of interspatial rings, which were priceless. Cloud Plains was dozens of times larger than the Northern Desert. The Sun Palace had always been the overlord of Cloud Plains and had accumulated many mystical materials over the years. The Pavilion of Delicacy had stopped trading with the Northern Desert. At first, Lu Li was worried that the mystical materials could only last for a couple of years. Now, it looked like they could last for 100 years. All right, Lu Li thought of one thing. Lu Ling would not give up the Cloud's Plains. This was a land of treasures, and Lu Li would not let her give it up. Therefore, he and Lu Ling would have to travel back and forth between the Cloud's Plains and the Northern Desert. Therefore, they would have to enter the passageway from the Serenity Plains to the deserted world. This passageway would not be exposed in the short term. If it was exposed for too long, there would definitely be problems. Lu Li went to Lu Ling and asked her to send someone to occupy the region near the passageway. It was only a fifth-rank family that could be conquered by some noble Lord Realm warriors. Lu Ling didn't send random warriors. She found 2 warriors at the peak of the noble Lord Realm of the Palace of Sun and forced them to take Fire Phoenix pellets so that they could secretly occupy that region. Cloud's Plains and the Serenity Plains were close to each other, but they minded their own business. If Lu Ling sent noble Lord Realm warriors of the Drifting Cloud Hall to the Serenity Plains, it would attract the attention of some forces of the Serenity Plains. Those forces would think that Lu Ling was invading the Serenity Plains. If they worked together, the Serenity Plains would suffer as well. There were many human sovereign realm warriors at the Serenity Plains. Sending 2 noble Lord Realm warriors of the Palace of Sun wouldn't cause such a reaction. After all, in the eyes of the forces of the Serenity Plains, the Palace of Sun was a defeated army. It was just 2 noble Lord Realm warriors that escaped, and they were trying to find a small place to linger on. Sending 2 noble Lord Realm warriors was also a reason. 2 would be a 5th-rank force. 3 would be a 6th-rank force, which would attract more attention. The Clouds Plains hadn't been stabilized yet. The Serenity Plains in the south and the Frigid Plains in the north hadn't shown any reaction. There was no response from the Central Plains either. Therefore, Lu Ling couldn't leave the Clouds Plains now. Lu Li decided to stay here and cultivate. He asked Third Patriarch to send a message to Yi Cha, telling him to go back to the northern desert and check on the situation. He would go back later. Half a month later, the Clouds Plains was unified. Lu Ling was busy during this time. She wanted to run the Clouds Plains as an iron bucket. She would show no mercy to anyone that disobeyed her orders or disobeyed her orders. Lu Ling set up a Hall of Shadows, similar to the one Lu Li had set up at the northern desert, to monitor the entire Clouds Plains. If anyone was dissatisfied with the current rule, what awaited them would be the destruction of their entire clan. The outside didn't know that several human sovereign realm warriors had become Lu Ling's slaves. Lu Ling didn't explain either. On the surface, Tu and I was the emperor, and the other human sovereign realm warriors were titled as generals. The Drifting Cloud Hall and the families affiliated to the 3 forces were confused and dissatisfied. After all, none of them gained anything from the unification of the empire. Almost all the gains were handed over to the national treasury and fell into Lu Ling's hands. 5 days later, good news came from the Serenity Plains. The region near the passageway to the deserted world had been conquered by 2 noble Lord Realm warriors of the Palace of Sunday. Neither of them became the master of the region. Instead, they supported a puppet to be the master of the region. They were secretly building a teleportation formation to the Drifting Cloud City. Lu Li could teleport to the Serenity Plains without traveling. The Empire of Cloud's prowess was established. Lu Ling sent out letters to the forces of the Serenity Plains and the Frigid Plains. Not long afterward, the forces of the 2 plains sent over messengers to celebrate. Lu Ling didn't show up in person. She asked Tu and I to receive them. Lu Li was relieved to hear the news. The forces of the Serenity Plains and the Frigid Plains had acknowledged the Empire of Cloud's prowess. They expressed goodwill and hoped to live in peace. There was no empire at the Serenity Plains and the Frigid Plains. Just like the Clouds Plains, several forces divided the land equally. Instead of coveting the Clouds Plains, they were afraid that the Clouds Plains would invade. Lu Ling didn't plan on invading for the time being. It would be best if they could live in peace and mind their own business. Another half a month later, Lu Ling and Lu Li decided to set off. The affairs at the Clouds Plains had been settled. It was time to go back to the northern desert, enter the ice abyss, and save Lu Renwang. This time, Lu Ling planned to bring 4 human sovereign realm warriors with her. 2 would stay behind, and they would leave secretly. As long as no outside forces invaded, Tu and I and Yu Ping would be able to intimidate the entire Clouds Plains. Whoosh, since they were leaving, Lu Li wouldn't keep God of Meng and the others behind. He asked Lu Ling to send someone to bring them to the Drifting Cloud Hall. The teleportation formation to the Serenity Plains was built in a castle of the Drifting Cloud Hall. God of Meng Kameng, let me introduce you. Lu Li noticed that God of Meng was looking at the 4 human sovereign realm warriors behind Lu Ling with alertness. Lu Li said with a smile, "This is my sister Lu Ling. The other 4 are her subordinates." God of Meng and Kameng didn't know the specific situation in the city. They only received a message from Lu Li saying that things had been taken care of, and they didn't have to worry. Little did they know that all the human sovereign realm warriors of the Clouds Plains were under Lu Ling's command. Freaks! Chapter 590. In a cave in a mountain at the Serenity Plains, a teleportation formation glowed for an hour. A group of people showed up in the teleportation formation. Greetings, Saint Lord, Emperor, State Counselor, and Generals. 2 warriors at the peak of the noble Lord realm of the Palace of Sun were guarding in the cave. No one else knew about this teleportation formation. The builders of the teleportation formation were all executed. Only the 2 noble Lord realm warriors of the Palace of Sun knew about it. Okay. Lu Ling nodded, but didn't say much. She only said one thing. One of you stay here to guard the teleportation formation, and the other go back to the city to manage the affairs. You must make sure that the teleportation formation is not exposed. If it is, kill yourself as an apology. Lu Li looked at Yi, who was leading the way. Soon, they found the passageway to the deserted world. Lu Li turned to God of Meng, who took the lead and rushed into the passageway. The others followed him. Lu Li took Lu Ling's hand, and they went into the passageway together. After a flash of white light, they felt dizzy. After a long time, Lu Li and the others appeared in the deserted world. God of Meng had been here for a long time. He was guarding on the side with respect. God of Meng was not afraid of any human sovereign realm warrior that Lu Ling brought with her. But Lu Ling was Lu Li's sister, and she had such a powerful force. She deserved his respect. Lu Ling didn't say anything about Lu Li having an alien race working for him. Just like Lu Li, she was even more protective of him. She wouldn't care even if Lu Li did something evil. She would shoulder all the consequences for Lu Li. Sister, this is the deserted world. There are many ancient races here, and they have been unified. Lu Li introduced the place to Lu Ling after they came out. Lu Ling nodded and said, "The Xianqi in heaven and earth is good. The deserted world is large. This small world is nice. Let's go. Let's go to the Snow Mountain of Dragons first." It had been several months since they left the deserted world. Lu Li missed by Qiushue, and he was eager to go back. They released their beads of life. Lu Li released his fate wheel and flew to the south. They had to go to a big tribe in the north and then teleport to the Snow Mountain of Dragons. Lu Ling had heard about by Qiushue from Lu Li. She loved and cared for this girl. Unfortunately, there was no Bodhi fruit at the Clouds Plains. It must be found at the Demon Slaying Hall. A group of people arrived at that large tribe, scaring the chief of that tribe. There were so many Renwang realm cultivators. Lu Li showed no intention to explain. He teleported away with the others and went directly to the Snow Mountain of Dragons. Yi Cha was at the Snow Mountain of Dragons, and so were Qi Ke and Meng Ji. They had been waiting here for many days just to welcome Lu Li back. Lu Li and Yi Cha looked at each other and nodded. It seemed that the northern desert had been quiet recently. Nothing big happened. Forces of the Central Plains didn't dare to make trouble here. Lu asked Yi to Lu and Hu Earth to Wolf and Wolf. Clan Emperor. Jade Academy by Snow Academy. Snow Mountain Lu Dragon. Hu and Lin. Ellie Wolf Lu Wolf Hu Lang Wolf Moon Wolf. A peerless beauty was lying quietly on a jade bed. Her entire body was covered in a layer of ice. Her face was a bit pale, but her expression was very serene. She looked like a sleeping beauty. Lu Ling stared at him for a while. Then she nodded and said, "Good. Lu Li, you have good taste. This girl is qualified to be the daughter-in-law of the Lu family. You should cherish her. Lu Li, don't worry. I will find a way to get you the Bodhi fruit." For example, Lu Li had made it clear that she was not good enough for Lu Li. Lu Li smiled. Lu Ling had always had high standards. Lu Li took Lu Ling out after a while. To his surprise, Bai Xiaoshuang woke up. She saw a beautiful girl standing next to Lu Li. Out of instinct, she was alarmed and looked at Lu Ling with hostility. Bai Xiaoshuang knew about the relationship between Lu Li and Bai Qiuxue. She didn't know what had happened between them, but Lu Li often stayed with Bai Qiuxue in the ice room. Bai Xiaoshuang could feel his affection for her. Bai Xiaoshuang knew the relationship between Lu Li and Bai Qiuxue. Even though she didn't know what had happened between them, Lu Li often stayed with Bai Qiuxue in the ice room alone. Bai Xiaoshuang could feel his affection for Bai Qiuxue. Therefore, Bai Xiaoshuang had always regarded Lu Li as her brother-in-law. Naturally, she was alarmed to see a beautiful girl standing next to Lu Li. Seeing Bai Xiaoshuang's expression, Lu Li smiled and introduced, "Xiaoshuang, this is my sister, Sister, this is Bai Xiaoshuang, Qiuxue's twin sister." "Nice." Lu Ling looked at Bai Xiaoshuang carefully and said with a smile, "This sister is nice as well. Lu Li, you have good taste." Lu Li was embarrassed. He touched his nose and said, "Sister, it is not what you think. Xiaoshuang is my sister." The hostility and alertness in Bai Xiaoshuang's eyes disappeared. She lowered her head shyly. After a while, she looked up and said, "Sister Lu, I am Bai Xiaoshuang. Lu Li is my brother-in-law, haha." Lu Ling didn't pay attention to Lu Li. She took Bai Xiaoshuang's hand and took out a pink bow from her ring. She said, "Sister, thank you and Qiuxue for taking care of my brother all these years. This is a gift for me. I hope you like it." Holy grade weapon. Bai Xiaoshuang's eyes glowed. Holy grade weapons and armors were valuable. Lu Ling had given her a holy grade weapon, and it was her favorite bow. How could Bai Xiaoshuang not be happy? "Sister, you don't even give me a gift. You are biased," Lu Li teased. Lu Ling was the master of the Cloud's Plains, and he wanted to see how rich she was. Lu Ling glared at him and said, "You don't lack holy grade weapons, but I don't have quasi-relics. They are too precious, and they are all in the hands of the super forces of the Central Plains. Average people cannot get their hands on them." "Quasi-relics?" Bai Xiaoshuang blinked and said, "Lu Li, don't you have a quasi-relic? How can you ask your sister for it?" "Oh." Lu Ling was surprised. Lu Li didn't tell her he had a quasi-relic. Lu Li didn't hide it from her on purpose. He only mentioned the small battlefield in a few words and didn't go into details. Lu Li patted his sleeve to wake up Little White, who was sleeping. Pointing to Little White, Lu Li said, "I do have a quasi-relic. It is the ding of barbarian god. I took from the prince of the barbarian race. But I didn't refine it. It was Little White. That is why I didn't tell you last time." "Little White can refine quasi-relics? How?" Lu Ling was even more surprised. She knew about Little White. She had always thought it was just a 3rd or 4th rank Xian beast. At her current realm, Little White was of no use to her. She didn't know that it could refine quasi-relics. Sister, Little White is awesome." Lu Li patted Little White's head fondly and said, "Little White has absorbed the divine energy given by Emperor of Heaven Reverse. It has changed. It can bite quasi-relics. I think when Little White grows up, it can be as strong as a human sovereign realm warrior. Maybe it can reach the Earth immortal realm." Lu Ling was surprised. She carried Little White in her arms. Little White was reluctant at first, but after taking a closer look at Lu Ling and finding her familiar, it stopped resisting. Chapter 591. Lu Li and Lu Ling left the northern desert after a day at the Snow Mountain of Dragons. They brought 4 human sovereign realm warriors with them, not for fun, but to save their parents. The sister and brother had been thinking about this for more than a decade. Lu Ling wanted to unify the Cloud's Plains because she wanted to save her parents from the ice abyss. Lu Li had no concept of his parents, but Lu Ling did. She was only 4 years old back then, but she could never forget when he came back from killing enemies and saw his mother dying. He howled in pain and sorrow. When he was about to leave with his wife in his arms, he told Lu Ling some things. Lu Ling could not forget the pain and guilt in his eyes. Her parents were not good parents, but there was no doubt that they loved her and her brother. Lu Ling didn't know much when she was 4 years old, but at that time, she had an idea that she must save her parents. This idea had been buried in her heart for more than a decade. Now that she had the ability, how could she sit still? Lu Li took God of Meng and Yi Cha with him. God of Ming had been to the ice abyss before. Even though he was only halfway there, he was experienced. This time, he could act as a guide with the 4 human sovereign realm warriors so they could look out for each other. They teleported to the exit and then left the area of demons. Yicha left first to make some arrangements. He sent away all the warriors around the area of demons and made sure that there were no scouts from the central plains lurking around. Out of the area of demons, they didn't take teleportation formations. Instead, they flew toward the north. Yicha explored the way ahead and didn't let anyone get close in case their identities were exposed. It was not a big deal that human sovereign realm warriors of the Clouds Plains had arrived at the northern desert. The fact that Lu Ling had taken control of the Clouds Plains would soon be known by all the forces of the Central Plains. Lu Li kept it a secret because he didn't want the deserted world to be exposed. The Cloud Plains was far away. Lu Li and Lu Ling were still at the Clouds Plains a few days ago, and now they were back at the northern desert. When the news spread out, many people would know the existence of the deserted world. After all, teleportation formations could not teleport them that far. They were fast. Lu Li was even faster than Lu Ling, which surprised Lu Ling and the other human sovereign realm warriors. They traveled day and night without a moment of rest. They flew across the wild mountains and hills in a straight line toward the ice abyss. The northern desert was too small. It only took them 2 days to reach the ice abyss. No one noticed them along the way, but when they reached the ice abyss, Zi Huanxiao was already there. The Heaven Martial Kingdom had always been Zi Huanxiao's territory. Lu Li was not surprised that Zi Huanxiao could receive the news. Zi Huanxiao had not reached the human sovereign realm yet. He was taken aback to see that Lu Li had brought so many human sovereign realm warriors with him. He became more respectful to Lu Li. Zi Huanxiao was very smart. There was no one from the Zi clan near the ice abyss, only Zi Huanxiao. The people from nearby tribes were also forbidden from going near the ice abyss. Returning to the ice abyss again, Lu Li had mixed feelings. Lu Ling had mixed feelings as well. They had grown up in the Di-Long tribe on the outskirts of the ice abyss. More than 2 years ago, they had been bullied in the tribe. 2 years later, one became the emperor of the northern desert, and the other became the ruler of the Clouds Plains. Lu Ling looked at Zi Huanxiao, who nodded, indicating that Zi Huanxiao was fine. Lu Ling and the others flew directly to the ice abyss, where there were beast kings and a large number of powerful Shin beasts. That being said, human sovereign realm warriors felt no pressure. The average Shin beast would run away as soon as they sensed their presence. Powerful Shin beasts were highly intelligent. They wouldn't come here to court death. Even the beast kings near the ice abyss had left to the north as soon as they sensed the human sovereign realm warriors. They didn't want to be in conflict with them. Squeak, squeak. When they were close to the ice abyss, Little White was restless and kept making noises. Lu Li and Lu Ling looked at each other. They were a bit surprised. So, Little White must have something to do with the Beast King that died 2 years ago. Otherwise, Little White wouldn't have such a big reaction. When the Beast King died, Little White reacted strongly. At that time, Lu Li and Lu Ling already had an idea. But back then, Little White was so weak that Lu Li and Lu Ling couldn't be sure. Now Little White was getting stronger. It made sense that it was the son of the Beast King. Little White, was the Beast King here your mother? Seeing the sorrow in Little White's eyes, Lu Li couldn't help but ask. However, Little White shook its head, which confused Lu Li and Lu Ling. Lu Li thought about it and asked again, "Is that Beast King related to you?" This time Little White nodded. The sorrow in its eyes grew stronger. Lu Li patted its head and said, "Don't be sad. I will find out who was involved in that battle and kill them for you to avenge the Beast King." Little White shook its head again and pointed at itself. Lu Li was surprised and asked, "You want to avenge yourself?" Little White nodded, and Lu Li didn't say anything else. Many forces were involved in that battle. Many from the Cyan Plains came as well. Lu Li didn't object to Little White wanting to avenge itself, but it couldn't be done in the short term. Offending the forces of the Cyan Plains now would cause a lot of trouble. Putting Little White back into his sleeve, Lu Li and Lu Ling stood above the ice abyss and glanced over the entire abyss. The abyss was so vast that they couldn't see the edge. It was surrounded by thick ice and snow with few trees. The temperature here was low, not much lower than the ice room on the snow mountain of dragons. God of Ming glanced over and said, "There are cold currents in the ice abyss, and they're moving around. It is horrifying. Last time, I ran into one, and I was frozen. The deeper we go, the more cold currents there are. I don't dare to go any deeper in fear that I will be frozen. Also, I can tell that there is a powerful beast king guarding at the bottom. It must be a beast king of ice properties. This time, it will be difficult to go down and save people." Lu Ling was in deep thoughts. After a while, she said, "Chu Cheng cultivates profound meaning of fire properties. Go with him and look out for each other. In principle, survival comes first. If you run into fatal danger, you can retreat at once. You don't have to force your way down." Luli nodded. They were going down to save people, so they didn't have to force it. If they couldn't save the people and the human sovereign realm warriors died in there, it would not be worth it. Luli thought about it and said again, "When you go down, you can shout for help. My father, Lu Renhuang, is still alive, and he should be in the abyss. It will be best if you can contact him. If something goes wrong, you can come up and discuss with us before taking the next step." Lu Renhuang had been in there for 18 years. Since he was still alive, he must have ways to save his life. As long as they could contact him, it would be much easier to save people. "Okay." Lu Ling waved her hand and said, "Off you go." Whoosh, the 5 human sovereign realm warriors were filled with energy. 3 of them had holy great armors on them. The 5 of them dashed into the abyss like swords. Lu Li and Lu Ling were nervous. It had been more than a decade. Could they see their parents again? It was all up to fate. P.S. Many friends came back from the National Day. I can't avoid socializing. That will be the 3rd chapter today. Chapter 592. The 5 human sovereign realm warriors went down. Zi Huanxiao was patrolling nearby, and Yi Cha was guarding on the side. Lu Li and Lu Ling floated above the abyss, waiting quietly. Lu Li's breaths were short, and he was nervous. Lu Ling, who would not even flinch in the face of a great mountain, was worrying about her own gains and losses. When she was 4, she swore that she would save her parents. It had been 18 years, and she had been thinking about this for 16 years. The only time she didn't think about it was when her memory was sealed. For the rest of the time, she spent her time thinking about how to save Lu Renhuang. Time moved on. Lu Li and Lu Ling were getting more and more anxious. Little White had stopped messing around, sensing Lu Li's mood. It hid in Lu Li's sleeve and poked its head out to look down. The time for 1 incense stick to burn, 3 incense sticks to burn, and an hour had passed. The ice abyss shouldn't be deep. Last time, God of Ming came up after less than an hour. An hour had passed. Lu Li and Lu Ling were worried, wondering if the 5 had reached the bottom of the abyss. Whoosh! Suddenly, the sound of something tearing through the air rang out from below. Then, 5 figures flew up one after another. Lu Li scanned with psychic power. His expression was awful. 5 went down, and only 5 came up. His parents were not saved. Can it be? Lu Li had an idea, but he soon denied it. Lu Renhuang's jade talisman of life was still intact, so he could not have died. What's going on? When the 5 came up, Lu Li asked at once. Lu Ling glanced over, and her expressions were awful. Apart from Chu Cheng, the other 4 were frozen. Their eyebrows and beards had turned white. They must have been stopped by the cold current. God of Ming shook his head and said, "The cold current is too strong. The further down we go, the more there are. Chu Cheng cannot protect the 5 of us. We have been frozen many times, and our Xian energy is frozen. Without Chu Cheng, we wouldn't have been able to come up." Really? Lu Li and Yi Cha were speechless. At Lu Li's current realm, he could smash a hill with just 1 Xian energy. He was only at the eternal realm, and the noble lord realm was stronger. The 5 human sovereign realm warriors could split a mountain with 1 move. The Xian energy of human sovereign realm warriors was profound and had changed. How could the cold current freeze their Xian energy? It was a testament to how horrifying the cold current was. Lu Ling didn't panic. She asked calmly, "Is there no other way?" "Yes." God of Meng pointed at Chu Cheng and said, I will go with Chu Cheng. Too many people will drag Chu Cheng down. I am strong. He can protect me. Chu Cheng can protect me. Okay, Lu Li said in a hurry. Then you two go down. Be careful. Don't take risks if you can't do it. Don't worry, sacred leader. God of Meng nodded. He exchanged a look with Chu Cheng, and they flew down. Lu Li watched as they left. Then, he turned to Hu Lang and asked, How far have you gone? Yi Chun. Chun. With a grave expression, Hu Lang said, This place is very strange. We have gone down so far, but we still haven't reached the bottom. Furthermore, the lower they went, the more cold currents there were. The cold currents floated around without any pattern, and their speed was too fast. There was no way for them to dodge, and they were frozen in an instant. The moment I was frozen, I felt like I was going to die. I've lived for so many years, but this is the first time I've seen such a powerful cold current. Lu Li and Lu Ling looked at each other, worried. How did Lu Renhuang survive such a strong cold current? Their mother's realm was low. She was badly wounded and on the verge of death. Lu Renhuang brought her here. How could she survive? There was another problem. Their mother was dying at that time. Lu Renhuang must have taken her into the ice abyss for the sake of saving her. If there were any elixirs in the ice abyss, it would have been cured. If Lu Renhuang could go down there, he could come up as well. Why hadn't he come out after so many years? If her mother could not be saved, Lu Renhuang could grieve for a while, but eventually he would find a way out. However, more than a decade had passed, and Lu Renhuang was still down there, which puzzled the siblings. Lu Ling asked after some thoughts. God of Meng said he sensed the energy of a beast king down there last time. Did you feel it this time? No. Hu Lang and the other two human sovereign realm warriors looked at each other and shook their heads. Hu Lang said, There is no sign of life down there, not to mention a beast king. Beast kings are very powerful. Maybe we are not at the bottom yet. Sure. Lu Ling said nothing more and waited. The other three human sovereign realm warriors stood there quietly, not daring to say anything. Time moved on, but to Lu Li and Lu Ling, it felt like an eternity. It had only been an hour, but they felt years had passed. An hour later, there was still no movement. With every passing second, Lu Li's heart was beating faster. The longer Chu Cheng and God of Meng stayed in there, the deeper they went. 2 hours. Chu Cheng and God of Meng still hadn't come out. Lu Li's eyes glowed. They must be at the bottom of the ice abyss after such a long time. Whoosh! After the time for 3 incense sticks to burn, 2 people came back. Lu Li's glowing eyes dimmed down again. God of Meng and Chu Cheng came back, but they didn't bring anyone out. What is going on? Lu Li shouted from the distance. God of Meng forced a smile, but said nothing. Chu Cheng explained, We have arrived at the bottom of the ice abyss, and there is a tunnel. But there is a strong inhibition formation at the entrance. We cannot break it. The cold current at the bottom of the ice abyss is horrifying. We have spent the time for 2 incense sticks to burn, and we still haven't cracked the inhibition formation. In the end, we couldn't stand it anymore, so we came up. Inhibition formation? Lu Li and Lu Ling's eyes glowed. They had never heard of any powerful warriors going into the ice abyss. The inhibition formation must have been built by someone. Then it must be their father. You don't feel any human breath? Where's the Beast King? Lu Li asked anxiously. No. Chu Cheng shook his head and said, There is no sign of life. The Beast King that God of Meng sensed before is gone as well. Lu Li asked again, Is there really no way to crack the inhibition formation? Hu Lang, do you know anything about inhibition formations? Hu Lang and the other 2 looked at each other and shook their heads. Master of Lotus Society said, Chu Cheng learned some inhibition formations at the Palace of Sunday. Not even he can crack it. There's nothing we can do. Squeak, squeak, Little White suddenly sneaked out from Lu Li's sleeve. It pointed down with its paw and screamed. Lu Li and Lu Ling frowned. They looked at Little White, not understanding what it meant. Little White cried out a few times and was a little anxious. It simply leaped up and directly flew into the abyss. Little White. Lu Li was shocked. He said to Chu Cheng and God of Meng at once, go down and protect Little White. Also, I think the average inhibition formations don't work on Little White. Go down with it and check again. In the tomb of Dragon King, many powerful inhibition formations didn't work on Little White. Luli understood that Little White was going down to help him find people. Okay. Chapter 593. Little White went down. Luli was worried and expectant at the same time. Little White was miraculous. Inhibition formations were ineffective against it. Little White had been refined by thunderbolts for a long time, so its defense was strong. Would it be harmed by the cold current? Luli didn't know. Luli, on the other hand, did not rush in like an idiot. If he dared to go in and be frozen by the cold current, he would die immediately. They had to wait. Lu Ling frowned. She was worried about Little White's safety. This beast was miraculous and had so much room for growth. It would be such a shame if it died. The 2 hours this time was even more torturous for Lu Li than the last time. Little White and Lu Li were not master and servant, so Lu Li could not tell if Little White was alive or dead. Lu Li had to wait with anxiety. It had been 2 hours, and Chu Chung, Lu Li, and Little White still hadn't come up. Lu Li was getting more and more anxious. He flew around the abyss, and his eyebrows were knitted together. After the time for 3 incense sticks to burn, there came a noise from below. Lu Li and the others checked with psychic power at once. When Lu Li saw Little White on God of Meng's shoulder, he was relieved. However, this time, God of Meng and Chu Chung came up alone. They didn't bring anyone with them. Moreover, the expressions of the two of them were a little off. Their expressions were a little ugly. Clatter, Lu Li and Lu Ling looked at each other. Both of them had a bad feeling. This time, neither of them was in a hurry to ask about the situation as if they didn't want to receive bad news. Saint Lord, Chu Chung and God of Meng bowed and shouted as they came up. They were both Saint Lords. Little White hopped onto Lu Li's shoulder and shouted in a deep voice, which made Lu Li more worried. Phew, Lu Ling took a deep breath to calm herself down and said, "What is it? Tell me." Chu Chung looked at God of Meng. Seeing that God of Meng didn't want to talk, Chu Chung made up his mind and said, "Young Master Li's beast is good. It cracked the inhibition formations easily. We went into the cave and we saw a grave." Grave! Lu Ling and Lu Li felt as if 2 thunderbolts had struck on a clear day. Both of them trembled. Lu Ling almost fell out of her bead of life. Fortunately, Hu Lang helped her up. Lu Li looked at Lu Ling with worry. He was not as close to his parents as Lu Ling was. After all, he had never seen his parents since he was a kid. Lu Ling was different. He flew over, grabbed her arm, and said to Chu Chung, "Go on." Chu Chung shook the wrinkles on his face and continued. "There was a corpse in the grave. I checked it and found that it was a beautiful woman. He should have been dead for more than 10 years, but the temperature down there was very low, so his body was well preserved. There's a tombstone with the words, 'Beloved wife Di Yun's grave.'" Pooh! Finally, she could not hold back the blood anymore. She spat it out and collapsed. Di Yun was her mother's name. Clearly, the tombstone was built by Lu Renhuang. Lu Renhuang took his mother into the ice abyss, but he failed to save her. More than a decade later, their mother had passed away. Sister Lu Ling's eyes rolled up, and she was about to pass out. Lu Li held her in his arms anxiously, took out a pellet, and fed it to her. She had been worried about them for more than a decade, looking forward to them for more than a decade, talking about them for more than a decade. For Lu Ling, what happened to her parents was not only a concern, but also a belief that supported her to this day. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to make it many years ago. Today, she was filled with joy and expectation. Finally, she and Lu Li had the ability to save her parents. She didn't expect to receive such a grievous news. How could she accept it? At the moment, above the ice abyss, Lu Li was worried that Lu Ling would lose her mind. He took her down to the barren land next to the ice abyss. Lu Ling closed her eyes. Her breaths were weak and her face was pale. The 4 human sovereign realm warriors of the clouds plains looked at her with worry. They were all Lu Ling's slaves. If Lu Ling died, they would all die with her. Mother is dead. Lu Li was upset as well. He didn't even have the chance to see his mother. How could she die like this? She had been dead for more than a decade, and they only found out now. Lu Ling rested in Lu Li's arms for the time for one incense stick to burn before she struggled to stand up. She dropped to her knees. Seeing that Lu Li was still in a daze, she scolded him coldly. Lu Li, on your knees. Lu Li knelt at once. The four human sovereign realm warriors of the Clouds Plains looked at each other and knelt down as well. God of Ming and Yi Cha thought about it and knelt down as well. After all, Saint Lord had knelt down. As subordinates, how could they remain standing? Mother, I, Lu Ling, and my brother Lu Li are here to kowtow to you, Lu Ling said with tears in her eyes. Then she kowtowed to the ground. Lu Li, the human sovereign realm warriors, and Yi Cha followed suit. Lu Ling kowtowed to the ground for 9 times. She even made a dent in the ice. After that, Lu Ling still didn't stand up. She just knelt there. Lu Li didn't stand up either. The other human sovereign realm warriors were too embarrassed to do so. God of Ming and Yi Cha were embarrassed. They were all patriarchs, and they had lived for a long time. Even if Lu Ling and Lu Li's mother were still alive, she would only be in her 30s after the time for 3 incense sticks to burn. Lu Ling stood up. Lu Li asked the others to stand up as well. Lu Ling looked at Chu Cheng, wiped her tears, and asked, "Where's my father?" "Nobody." Chu Cheng shook his head and said, "There is only one tunnel in an underground plaza. There are signs of people living in there, and there are some mystical grasses. But there is no living being in there." Impossible. Lu Li and Lu Ling's eyes were wide open. They couldn't believe it. How could there be nobody in there? Lu Renhuang was still alive. How could he not be in the ice abyss? Could it be that Lu Renhuang had come out a long time ago? But Lu Li and Lu Ling had been living at the northern desert for the past 15 years. How could Lu Renhuang not go to them? Could it be that Lu Renhuang was dead? That jade talisman of life was given to Lu Ling by Lu Renhuang himself. It was still intact. Lu Ling asked, "Are you sure there is nobody in there? Are you sure you have searched everywhere?" God of Ming said, "Yes, we have. There is nobody in there. But one thing is for sure. Someone was in there a while ago. There are some seeds of edible fruits and some signs of living. I estimate that the people inside have been gone for no more than a month." A month? Lu Li and Lu Ling frowned. Lu Renhuang was in the ice abyss a month ago. Lu Li was not at the northern desert. He happened to be at the Clouds Plains. Let's go back. Lu Li's eyes glowed. It was possible that Lu Renhuang had gone to the Ling Empress City. Lu Feishue was at the Ling Empress City. How could Lu Renhuang not ask around after he left? Lu Ling would go to the Ling Empress City to wait for Lu Li's return. Lu Ling thought about it and said, "Lu Li, let's go to the Ling Empress City. Chu Cheng, you wait outside." Their mother had passed away more than a decade ago. There was no point in grieving. They had to find their father first. At least, they could find out the details and meet Lu Renhuang. That was the only consolation. Zi Huanxiao. Chapter 594. Under Zi Huanxiao's arrangement, Lu Li and Lu Ling's identities were kept secret. Zi Huanxiao told all the warriors in the plaza nearby to leave. All the powerful warriors in the city were warned not to use psychic power. Anyone that dared to use psychic power would be treated as a spy and killed. Lu Li and Lu Ling were in a hurry to get to the Ling Empress City, so they had to leave by teleportation formation. Zi Huanxiao teleported to the Heaven Marshal City first. After everything was arranged, he teleported back to let Lu Li and Lu Ling go over. They teleported to the Heaven Marshal City. The plaza was empty, not a soul in sight. No psychic power came either. Zi Huanxiao was a capable man. Then, Zi Huanxiao teleported to the Ling Empress City and asked Madame Yin to make arrangements there. After an hour, Zi Huanxiao arrived. Lu Li and Lu Ling teleported to the Ling Empress City. The plaza at the Ling Empress City was empty as well. But this time, some psychic power came. There were scouts of enemy forces in the Ling Empress City. Whoosh, whoosh, Mingyu and Yu Huashan flew out with 2 patriarchs of the Cyan Phoenix race as soon as they sensed something. Madame Yin had given the order to kill anyone that dared to use psychic power. Those must be scouts of the Central Plains. They must be killed. Lu Li and Lu Ling didn't worry about this. Mingyu would take care of it. He brought Lu Ling into the imperial palace, where Madame Yin was waiting with Bai Lung and the others. "Greetings, Emperor." "This is..." Madame Yin bowed and looked at Lu Ling with curiosity. She was so pretty that even Madame Yin was jealous of her. Lu Ling was more beautiful than Bai Qiuxue and Bai Xiaoshuang. She was one of the best. "I will tell you later." Lu Li was in no mood to explain. He waved his hand and took Lu Ling directly to Lu Feishue's palace. Yi Cha and Madame Yin clearly didn't know about Lu Renwang, which meant that he didn't disturb anyone even if he came out. But Lu Li believed that he would go to Lu Feishue. Lu Li and Lu Ling hurried into Lu Feishue's palace. Lu Feishue was drinking tea in the hall. Seeing Lu Li coming in with a girl, she was delighted and said, "Lu Li, you are back? Well, where did you find such a pretty girl?" Creak. Lu Li and Lu Ling looked at each other. Their hearts were weighed down again. Lu Li waved his hand to let Madame Yin and the others leave. He looked at Lu Feishue and asked, "Aunt, have you seen my father?" "Your father?" Lu Feishue frowned and asked, "Why do you ask? Did your father come out?" "Sister." Lu Li turned to Lu Ling. He was confused. According to Chu Cheng and the others, Lu Renhuang should have come out. But since he had come out, how could he not scout for information? How could he not look for them? How could he not come to see Lu Feishue? Lu Ling's eyes flickered. She could not figure it out, even with her intelligence. But she reacted quickly. She dropped to her knees, kowtowed to Lu Feishue 3 times and said, "I am Lu Ling, nice to meet you." "Niece? Lu Ling?" Lu Feishue was taken aback. She looked at Lu Ling and her eyes reddened. She helped Lu Ling up and said, "My dear niece, get up, get up. Lu Li, you got your sister back." "That's great, that's great." Lu Li had told Lu Feishue everything about Lu Ling. Over the years, Lu Feishue had been thinking about Lu Ling. She was worried about her niece. Today, they finally met. How could she not be moved? Lu Feishue choked with sobs. Lu Ling looked at Lu Feishue with a smile. Lu Li had told Lu Ling about Lu Feishue's aunt. Lu Ling loved her as well. After all, she was her father's only sister. Lu Feishue kept asking Lu Ling questions. Lu Li was thinking about Lu Renhuang with a frown. According to Chu Cheng and the others, Lu Li's father should have come out when Lu Li went to the Clouds Plains. 1 month ago, there were signs of people living in the abyss. Lu Renhuang must have been living there for more than a decade. Lu Renhuang would not die if he was alive for more than a decade. Logically speaking, a man who had been trapped here for more than a decade would try to find out information as soon as he came out. The northern desert was Lu Li's territory. Legends about Lu Li were everywhere. Anyone could know about him. Lu Renhuang could defeat human sovereign realm warriors more than a decade ago. Even without any breakthrough in his realm, it was a piece of cake for him to get information. Logically speaking, Lu Renhuang would come to the Ling Emperor city and he would find Lu Feishue easily. He could not see anyone, but how could he not see his own sister? That was the problem. Lu Feishue had never seen Lu Renhuang. Lu Feishue and Lu Ling talked for a while before Lu Ling remembered about Lu Renhuang. Lu Ling explained. Lu Feishue frowned. After a while, she remembered something and said, "Half a month ago, I was in closed-door cultivation. I felt a strong psychic power was secretly checking me. At first, I didn't notice it. Later, I was alarmed. But the psychic power disappeared soon. I even asked Bai Yin and Mingyu about it. They said they didn't receive any information. There were no strange, powerful warriors of the northern desert. Is it my brother?" "I think so." Lu Feishue thought about it and said, "That psychic power is so strong. It must be at the human sovereign realm at least. A human sovereign realm warrior wouldn't have been checking me for so long for no reason. After all, I am not important at the northern desert." Bai Yin, Mingyu, and Yu Huaxin didn't feel it. But Lu Li and Lu Ling were confused. If the mysterious powerful warrior was Lu Renhuang, why didn't he meet with Lu Feishue? Why didn't he go to Lu Li and Lu Ling? He could have left a note. "Auntie," thinking of a note, Lu Li asked Lu Feishue in a hurry, "Have you checked the hall? Did he leave any notes or anything like that?" "No." Lu Feishue blinked and said, "The maids clean the hall every day." I didn't see any note. Luli was still worried. He used psychic power to check the hall again and again. After a while, his eyes glowed. He flew out and stood in front of the hall. Lu Ling used psychic power to check. Her body trembled as well. She flew out as well. Lu Feishue walked out with confusion. She followed Lu Li's gaze and looked at the gate of the hall. Lu Feishue's eyes reddened after one look. Tears ran down her cheeks. She murmured, "Brother, you are so kind. Why didn't you see me?" On the gate of the hall, there were two small words. Clearly, the two words were carved there with a weapon. The words flowed like water, bold and forceful. It was human sovereign realm. The two words were small and not deeply carved. If one didn't look carefully, one wouldn't notice it. Lu Renhuang had come out. Chapter 595. One was bad news, and the other was good news. Lu Li, Lu Ling, and Lu Feishue all felt sad, especially since Lu Ling had deep feelings for her mother. In her memory, her mother was beautiful, gentle, and loving. Lu Ling had been missing her for more than a decade. She didn't expect that things would end like this. Of course, Lu Ling had prepared herself for this. After all, her mother was already weak and could die at any time. All these years, she had been hoping that Lu Renhuang could save her mother. Lu Ling didn't feel well at all. She stayed in her room by herself, neither eating nor talking. She was in a half-awake state all day long. She had been living a hard life over the years. She had been under great pressure. She had been scheming against others all the time, and she had been on guard against being schemed against. Now that she had unsealed her memory and returned to the northern desert to receive this news, she felt terrible. She had always been a strong-willed person. She was almost raped at the Delong tribe. She stayed in the mountains for several days and crawled back home. She didn't shed a tear. She didn't say anything to Lu Li. She suffered in silence. Therefore, she locked herself in her room. She didn't want others to see her weak side, to see her in pain. Lu Li didn't know how to feel either. If Lu Renhuang could show up, maybe everyone would feel better. But Lu Renhuang was nowhere to be found. His mother had passed away. Lu Li, who was full of hope, was disappointed. He had a hunch that Lu Renhuang must have his reasons for not showing up. Maybe he had gone back to the Central Plains to visit Lu Xingyang, or maybe he had gone to find his enemies to avenge his mother. That being said, as long as Lu Renhuang came out, they would meet again. Lu Li forced himself to pull himself together. Lu Ling seemed to be ill. Lu Feishue was in a bad mood. He had to support the family. Over the years, he had gotten used to being strong and shouldering the burden for others. When he went to Madame Yin, he didn't explain Lu Ling's identity. He just told her not to leak the news that he was at the northern desert. Also, he asked Mingyu to mobilize a secret team to search for spies and capture any suspicious ones. Lu Li didn't say anything about Lu Renhuang. Since Lu Renhuang didn't show up, Lu Li wouldn't be so silly as to tell the world that Lu Renhuang had come out. He sent a patriarch of the Cyan Phoenix race to the deserted world to find God of Meng and the others. He told God of Meng to take Hulang and the other four to hide in the Snow Mountain of Dragons and to keep the news to himself. He also asked Yi Cha to send people to block the entrances and exits of the deserted world. Without his order, no one was allowed to enter or leave. Lu Li himself didn't leave the Ling Empress City. He didn't even leave the Imperial Palace. By the looks of it, Lu Ling was ill. She was in a coma, half awake and half asleep. Sometimes, when she fell asleep, she would wake up from nightmares. Lu Li stayed with Lu Ling day and night to take care of her. Lu Feishue would come to visit often. Lu Li and Lu Feishue felt sorry for Lu Ling when they saw her pale face. Lu Ling finally recovered after 10 days of rest. She was still pale, but she had adjusted her emotions. Lu Li, don't send anyone to find Father. He will come back to us after he finishes his business. The news about Father must be sealed. No one is allowed to spread it. Lu Ling said. Lu Li nodded. He was of the same mind. He was relieved that Lu Ling brought it up on her own. He knew that she had recovered a bit from her grief. Lu Ling stood in a daze for a while and said, "Let's go to my grandpa's grave in a couple of days." Okay. Lu Li nodded. He thought about it and explained, "My grandpa's grave and great-uncle Five's grave are at the Thousand Island Lake. Back then, Lu told her what happened. At first, Lu Ling was filled with killing intent. But when she learned that the Bu family patriarch and warriors that dug up her grandpa's grave were all killed, she felt better. Such a shame. Lu Ling sighed and said, Mother's grave is at the bottom of the abyss. We are too weak. We can't even go to her grave and kowtow. Sis, Lu said, don't worry. As long as we work hard, we will be able to go down there sooner or later. Lu Ling closed her eyes in exhaustion. Lu stood up and said, Sis, rest for a couple of days. I will take you to the Thousand Island Lake later. 5 days later, Lu and Lu Ling quietly arrived at the Dragon Elephant Mountain at the Blood Evil Island of the Thousand Island Lake. The remains of his grandpa, Great Uncle Five, and many others were buried here. Squeak, squeak, Little White returned to the old haunt and ran away by itself happily. Lu and Lu Ling knelt down with respect. Lu followed behind them and knelt down as well. The nearby lands were all given to the Lu family. The Dragon Elephant Mountain had always been guarded by warriors of the Lu family. In order not to alarm the warriors, Lu had to send someone to secretly inform Lu Yi to make arrangements. Lu Yi's realm was not high. She was only at the initial stage of the Fate Wheel realm. She had to spend a lot of mystical materials to get there. She even failed to make a Fate Wheel once. With Lu as their backer, the Lu family was enjoying a comfortable life. Not only did they get the Goddown Island, but they also controlled several fourth-rank islands nearby. All of these were given to Lu Yi by Madame Yan. Of course, it was for Lu Li's sake. Lu Yi had met Lu Ling before, but now she felt she was a stranger. Not only was Lu Ling's leg healed, but she had also reached the Noble Lord realm. She was emitting a superior aura, which made Lu Yi afraid to look at her directly. After the ceremony, Lu Ling looked back at Lu Yi. She was still a virgin. She turned back to Lu Li, but said nothing. Back then, Lu Yi wanted to pursue Lu Li. Lu Ling even joked that Lu Yi could be Lu Li's concubine, but not his wife. Sis, I used to live here for a while. Do you want to stay here for a few days to relax? Lu Li pointed to the palace in the distance. Lu Yi had people guarding the palace, and it was cleaned often. Sometimes, she would stay here for a few days herself. It was clean. Sure, there were too many people at the Ling Empress City. It was not convenient to walk around. She followed Lu Li back to the castle at the peak of the mountain. Lu Yi came early to make arrangements. She asked the escorts to leave, leaving only 2 maids and a cook. There were some chess pieces in the pavilion outside the castle. Lu Li took a look and realized they were left by him. He smiled to Lu Ling and said, Sis, let's play a game of chess. I have made some progress. I wonder if I can beat you. Ha ha, for the first time in days, Lu Ling laughed. She shook her head and said, Let's do it the same way. I will let you have 13 moves. The 2 of them walked into the pavilion, and Lu Yi personally served tea to them. Then, she watched the 2 of them play chess. The game lasted for an hour. In the end, Lu Li gave up and said, I don't want to play with you anymore. I'm asking for trouble. PFF. Lu Yi smiled. She was about to ask if dinner was ready when someone came from the distance. Lu Li frowned. He looked over and saw it was Yi Cha. He asked, What happened? Why did you come here in person? Yi Cha stood in front of Lu Li, cupped his fists, and said, A few days ago, a volcano erupted at the southeast of the deserted world. There were some monsters. God of Ming went to kill them and found a tunnel. He went in and found a small world inside. It is vast and boundless. We don't know how big it is yet. There are many monsters in there, different from Xian beasts. Lu Li and Lu Ling looked at each other and stood up. Lu Li waved to Little White in the distance and said, Little White, come back. Let's go and have a look. P.S. Give me some recommendation votes. Many people said that the explosion on the 29th was a lie. I can tell you for sure that it is true. Starting from 20 chapters. Chapter 596. The deserted world was large, so there would be more passageways. There used to be 3. One connected to the central plains was destroyed under Lu Li's order. Now, there was another one. If it was connected to the central plains or other plains, Lu Li wouldn't care. He could just have someone destroy it. However, it was connected to another small world, and a very big one with many monsters at that. Luli was very interested. Why? Because those small worlds often represented precious treasures. Who wouldn't want cultivation resources? With resources, many powerful warriors could be trained, forces could be strengthened, and one's realm could be improved quickly. Lu Renhuang had gone to run some errands. He would not return to the northern desert anytime soon. Their mother had passed away. Given their current realm, they could not go down to the ice abyss. Lu Ling had met Lu Feixue. It was pointless for her to stay here. She wanted to go to the deserted world and then go back to the Clouds Plains. The Clouds Plains had just been unified. Lu Ling could not give it up. She had to stay there and take command. Teleportation formations had been built along the way. If Lu Ling wanted to go to the northern desert, she could arrive in half a day. Therefore, it didn't matter whether she wanted to stay at the northern desert or the Clouds Plains. Led by Yi Cha, Lu Ling flew toward the area of demons. They were at the Thousand Island Lake. They could arrive in half a day at their speed. There was no need to take teleportation formations. After all, their return to the northern desert was confidential. They flew for half a day. With Yi Cha leading the way, they didn't run into any warriors. They entered the small world of green dwarfs and then the deserted world. Luli didn't stop at the deserted world. He teleported to the snow mountain of dragons, first to check on by Qiu Xue. Then, he asked Lu Ling to take Chu Cheng, Hu Lang, and the other 3 human sovereign realm warriors away. Yi Cha said the monsters in the small world were powerful. It would be safer to bring 4 human sovereign realm warriors. On the off chance that there were powerful monsters in the small world, Chu Cheng and the other 3 could help. As far as Luli was concerned, the small world was his now. Once he found it, he must conquer it. It would be a waste not to take the mystical materials. On the off chance that there was a passageway connecting the small world to the Central Plains, it would be occupied by the big families of the Central Plains as soon as it was discovered. The entrance to the small world was at the southeast, where there was no teleportation formation. They had to teleport to the Shadowland City at the southeast and fly for 4 hours to reach the entrance. A group of people appeared in the teleportation formation of the Heavenly Illusion City. Ku LV, the chief of the Heavenly Illusion tribe, and Kumang, who had returned to the tribe, had already received the news and were waiting outside the teleportation formation. When Luli came out, he saw that KLV looked awful. He asked in surprise, "What happened? Let's talk as we walk." Seeing that Luli had brought so many human sovereign realm warriors with him, KLV was relieved. He flew out of the city with Lu Li and the others with Kumang following him. After they were out of the city, KLV explained, "Lord God of Ming has mobilized all the patriarchs of the Titan race. But half a day ago, they sent back a message saying that they have suffered a great loss. One patriarch died, and many others are injured. The beasts in that small world are extremely ferocious." Lu Li and Lu Ling looked at each other in surprise. The Titan race was strong in defense, and all their patriarchs were at the noble lord realm. Average beast kings would not be able to hurt them. Could it be that there were many beast kings in that small world? Lu Li and the others sped up. After flying for 4 hours, they finally arrived at a huge mountain. At the foot of the mountain, there were Shadowland race warriors who bowed to them from the distance. Lu Li and the others flew on, and soon they found a volcano in the middle of the mountain. The volcano was huge, and it would erupt once every half a year. Therefore, nobody had ever thought about going in. If it were not for the fact that some beasts were spat out, nobody would have bothered. In the mountain outside the volcano, some temporary caves were dug out. Meng Hua and the others were in there. Meng Hua was so badly injured that he couldn't even stand up. "Where is God of Meng?" Luli asked as soon as he entered the cave. He saw 5 or 6 patriarchs in there, and all of them were injured. One patriarch even had a broken arm. Meng Hua couldn't stand up. Another patriarch sat up and said, "Clan leader is still in there with several other patriarchs to fend off the beasts. This time, we made too much noise when we went in. We have attracted many beasts. Clan leader is afraid that the beasts will enter the deserted world through the tunnel, so he has to hold them off. Find someone to lead the way. We will go in and have a look." Luli didn't want to waste any more time when he heard that God of Ming was still in there. A patriarch who was less injured stood up and led the way. They rushed into the crater in the distance. Let's go. Luli looked at Lu Ling, and the others flew away as well. The volcano had stopped erupting for a long time, but it was still scorching hot. They went down the crater into the magma pond. Right here, the patriarch of the Titan race pointed to a huge black hole on the wall of the magma pond and said, "We can reach that small world from here. Go back to tend to your wounds. We'll take a look. Also, find someone to dig out the volcano and divert the magma away so that it will be easier to get in and out. Also, send someone to build a teleportation formation," Lu Li said. Chu Cheng and the others had already rushed in. Lu Li and Lu Ling followed them and rushed into the tunnel. After a white glare, they arrived at a strange time. It felt like a world of fire. As soon as they entered, they felt a surge of heat. Everywhere they could see were maroon rocks. In the distance, they could faintly see some magma-like rivers. There were many trees, but they were all maroon and the leaves were the same color. It is a magma river. Lu Li used psychic power to check. He noticed that the air above the rivers was curled up, and there were flames coming out from some places. Lu Li was taken aback, because there were lives in the rivers. They were brown swordfish. Fish that could survive in such hot magma. Were they still fish? Boom, boom, boom. Lu Li's attention was soon attracted by the noises of fighting in the distance. He looked up and saw a valley in the distance. The noises were coming from there. Whoosh, Lu Ling waved her hand. Chu Cheng, Hu Lang, and the other 3 warriors rushed over. Lu Li and Lu Ling didn't dare to linger around, and they went after them quickly. The valley was high and barren. But on one side of the valley, there was a river of magma, emitting a scorching heat. Lu Li and Lu Ling were sweating. God of Ming, come back. Lu Li used psychic power to check. God of Ming and the other patriarchs were fighting against strange beasts in the valley. Lu Li saw that apart from God of Ming, the other 3 patriarchs were injured. He shouted at once. Retreat. Hearing Lu Li's shout, God of Ming was relieved. He stepped back with the 3 patriarchs while Chu Cheng, Hu Lang, and the other patriarchs moved forward. Lu Li saw a patriarch's abdomen was pierced through, and there were wounds all over his chest and back. It was a ghastly sight. Lu Li checked the valley with psychic power and saw many dead bodies on the ground. Touching his nose, he asked, "How come it is so serious? Are there thousands of them?" Thousands? Chapter 597. So many. Lu Li used psychic power to check. Those beasts were at least as strong as noble Lord Realm warriors. It was not normal for there to be so many of them. More than 10,000, and they are nearby. God of Ming looked up at the dark red sky and said, "I can't go further than that. I think this world is very large. You can feel the Xian-Qi in heaven and earth here. It is twice as rich as that of the Central Plains. I don't think this is a small world, but a super one." Lu Li and Lu Ling closed their eyes to check. Then they were surprised. The Xian-Qi in heaven and earth here was twice as rich as that of the Central Plains. According to common sense, this place was twice as big as the Central Province. Usually, the larger the land, the richer the Xian-Qi would be. At the northern desert, the Xian-Qi in heaven and earth was thin. The Clouds Plains was much richer than the northern desert, and the Central Plains was even richer. Of course, this was not absolute. The small world where the Cyan Phoenix race and a Mammoth race lived was much smaller than the northern desert, but the Xian-Qi in heaven and earth was still richer. Lu Li and Lu Ling would rather believe that this small world was larger than the Central Plains. They would rather believe that there was something special about the Xian-Qi in heaven and earth. After all, the Central Plains was too large. If this small world was multiple times larger than the Central Plains, there would be another Heaven Reverse universe, not a small world. Has anyone ever found a small world as large as the Heaven Reverse universe? Lu Li asked God of Ming with concern. If so, Lu Li would have to consider destroying the passageway. The larger the world was, the more powerful beings could be nurtured here. If there were beings of the Earth Immortal realm in this world, and there were many of them, then it would pose a huge threat to the Heaven Reverse universe. Once the powerful beings in this world noticed that beings of the Heaven Reverse universe were invading, they would track the passageway. By then, they would be able to invade the Heaven Reverse universe from the passageway, which would be a catastrophe for the Heaven Reverse universe. Not really, God of Meng thought about it and said, there are many small worlds of the Central Plains. Almost every family controls one or even more than a dozen small worlds. I think the largest one is only the size of the Clouds Plains. Okay, Luli was a bit relieved. If the small world was only the size of the Clouds Plains, then the creatures in this small world would not be too strong. Human Emperor and the others could still hold on. If they had the chance, they could retreat and destroy the passage. Lu Ling thought about it and said, let's be careful. I will take care of Lu Li. You go out and do something. Lu Li knew what she was talking about. He checked the valley for a while. Seeing that Shu Cheng and the other human Sovereign Realm warriors had gone over and easily suppressed the monsters, and they had even forced the monsters to retreat towards the canyon, they felt a lot more relaxed. Sister, be careful, Lu Li said, and went back to the deserted world through the tunnel behind him. Outside the volcano, Lu Li noticed that Ku LV and Ku Meng had left and were building illusions at the entrance of the cave. Lu Li nodded and said, Ku LV, you build the illusions here. Let Ku Meng go in and build one as well. If he set up an illusion in the canyon, not only would it help Chu Cheng and the others resist the monster's attacks, but it could also hide the tunnel to the greatest extent. Ku Meng obeyed and entered that strange world through the tunnel. Lu Li asked Ku LV to send a message to gather powerful warriors of different races after he was done. Warriors were needed to prepare for the invasion of the small world, the defense, and the backup plan. Lu Li himself was guarding the entrance at all times. If something went wrong, he would destroy the tunnel as soon as Lu Ling and the others came out to stop the strange world from invading the deserted world. The Shadowland race was nearby. Ku LV sent someone to send a message. In a couple of hours, many warriors of the Eternal Realm and the Noble Lord Realm came. The Shadowland race was not strong enough. They had too few Noble Lord Realm warriors, but more than 100 of the Eternal Realm. Dig up the volcano. Lu Li flew out and ordered the Shadowland race. At the same time, he asked Ku LV to build a super large illusion nearby. Even if the powerful creatures in there were to come out, they could be trapped for a short time. More than 100 Eternal Realm warriors were digging at the volcano. The walls of the volcano were soaked in hot lava all year round, so they were very hard. Lu Li even lent his divine weapon of Dragon King to a patriarch of the Shadowland race to speed up the digging. No matter how hard the walls were, they could not stand the continuous digging of a group of powerful warriors. Soon, the wall on one side of the volcano was dug out. A ditch was dug down to divert the lava away, so that the temperature near the entrance was not as high. More powerful warriors of different races were teleported to the Shadowland City. Seeing that Ku LV was almost done with the illusion, Lu Li went in with Chi Ke, Meng Ji, Yi Hu, and a dozen others. Lu Li didn't bring any Eternal Realm warriors in. Not even the Noble Lord Realm warriors of the Titan race could survive. Eternal Realm warriors would only be courting death. As soon as they entered this small world, everyone's expressions changed. This place felt like a world of fire. Everything they saw was dark red, and there were rivers of lava everywhere. The air was so hot that it was stifling. Even the monsters that were fighting in the canyon were fiery red. This is the inferno of the 18 levels of hell. Yihu exclaimed. There was a legend in the northern desert that the hell was divided into 18 levels. One of them was the Inferno, which was horrifying, just like this place. Well, the Inferno is a good name. Lu Li nodded and walked toward the valley in the distance. Lu Ling and the others were there. They could see Ku Meng building the illusion from the distance. Ku Meng had been here for a long time, and he was still building the illusion. It was not hard to imagine how powerful this illusion would be. Last time at Mount Mist, Ku Meng finished in an hour. Lu Ling and God of Meng stood at the entrance of the valley. The three patriarchs of the Titan race were still tending to their wounds. The battle was still going on in the valley. Chu Cheng and the other three were having an easy time dealing with the monsters. What are those? They don't look like Xian beasts. Chikur looked at the monsters at the end of the valley and asked in surprise. Powerful warriors of other races were surprised as well. Those monsters were not large in size. They looked like leopards with only one vertical eye. Their bodies didn't seem to be made of skin and muscles, but more like red rocks. When the monsters were killed by Chu Chung and the others, they would be smashed into pieces of reddish-brown rocks. No blood would come out. But what was strange was that the monsters were alive and had souls. Judging from their appearance, the monsters were made of rocks, but they were not separated into pieces. They were a whole. The monsters were like a ball of moving flames. They were agile and fast. There was a spike on their heads. Their attacks mainly relied on their sharp claws and the spike on their heads. The spikes were glistening, hard and sharp. Are the rocks sentient? Chapter 598. Heaven Grade and Holy Grade Xian Artifact. Everyone's eyes glowed. Yihu flew over and came back with some bone spurs. He took out a Heaven Grade Xian Artifact and hacked at the bone spurs. Clank, clank, with a muffled sound, Yihu's weapon was bounced off and sparks came out from the bone spur. They looked at the bone spur but didn't see any mark on it. It was so hard that they were speechless. Let me try. Luli took out his divine weapon of Dragon King and hacked at a bone spur on the ground. With a muffled sound, the divine weapon of Dragon King was bounced off. They looked at the bone spur with even more excitement. The divine weapon of Dragon King, a holy grade Xian artifact, merely had a small dent on the bone spur. This is good. Luli couldn't help but exclaim. The bone spur was hard and sharp. Just a handle could be used as a heaven grade Xian artifact, not to mention forging it. If they could forge it and hire some master craftsmen and some good materials, they might be able to make a batch of holy grade Xian artifacts. Heaven grade Xian artifacts were valuable. Average warriors of the Eternal Realm were not qualified to wear them. Holy grade Xian artifacts were even rarer. Usually, small families or races didn't even have a family patriarch, unless they were disciples of major families. If they could conquer this small world, they would make a fortune with the bone spurs. The Pavilion of Delicacy wouldn't trade with Luli. Lu Ling could trade with the Serenity Plains and the Frigid Plains if she had the Clouds Plains. It was so convenient to go to the Central Plains from the Clouds Plains. Could the Samsara Palace block off the Clouds Plains? Could the Samsara Palace stop all the major families of the Central Plains from doing business with Lu Li and Lu Ling? As long as there were good things and profits to be made, many families would do business with Lu Li and Lu Ling secretly, even at the risk of offending the Samsara Palace. Lu Ling waved her hand and said, "Don't get too excited yet. We don't have a full grasp of the situation in this small world. Let's talk about it later." Whoosh, a shadow dashed out from the valley. Yicha appeared next to Luli. Luli asked, "How is it going?" "There are 5,000 or 6,000 fire leopards. It will take us at least a day to kill them all. There are no more fire leopards coming from the valley." Yicha explained the situation. Lu Ling nodded. The valley was filled with monsters. The fact that Yicha could make his way out proved that the Cyan Phoenix race was the best scout in the world. Lu Li and Lu Ling could put their minds at ease after one more day. As long as there were no more fire leopards to reinforce them, everyone would temporarily guard the entrance. As for what would happen next, they would have to wait until the fire leopards were completely eliminated. Fire leopard? Luli agreed with this title. He used psychic power to check the fire leopards in the valley. They were quite strong in defense. If it were not for human sovereign realm warriors, it would be much more difficult for average noble lord realm warriors to kill him. "I'll go help." God of Ming rested for a while to recover. He dashed into the valley. Chi Kur and the others thought about it and followed them. They were all from special races in the deserted world and had their own ways. If they could use their powers to help the human sovereign realm cultivators speed up the purge, it would not be a bad idea. Luli wanted to go in and fight as well. He wanted to further cultivate this soul-shattering skill. However, the canyon was not very spacious. If he went in, those human sovereign realm cultivators would have their hands and feet tied. So, he simply did not go in. The group waited outside the canyon, and after 6 hours, Kameng finally stopped, his face filled with exhaustion. He released some Xian energy. The ground outside the valley suddenly glowed, and the view changed. Good, impressive. Lu Ling glanced over. A glint of surprise rose in her eyes. Everyone turned around to take a look, and a look of shock appeared on their faces. Luli glanced over and gave him a thumbs up. Amazing. Outside the valley was a vast flat land. But now, the view had changed into a horrifying abyss. Looking from this side, the abyss was endless. It was gloomy and glaring red. What was more surprising was, when they looked into the abyss, they felt a sense of fatal danger. It was not difficult to build an illusion, but the illusion made it so that they could not feel any inhibition formations. They just felt that there was a huge abyss here. That was what was impressive about it. Of course, the most important thing was the sense of fatal danger. The illusion could affect warriors' souls, which was horrifying. Kumang was young, but he had surpassed Ku Lv in art of illusion. He deserved his reputation as the genius of a Shadowland race that only appeared once in 10,000 years. God of Meng, send some fire leopards over. Luli signaled them to leave the valley to see if the illusion could scare the fire leopards. If it could, then the illusion would be significant. It could also test if the fire leopards had high intelligence. The group of people retreated to the other side of the illusion. From this side, their line of sight was not affected, and they could easily see everything in the canyon. This illusion only targeted the monsters that rushed out of the canyon. God of Meng and the others let 1 or 2 fire leopards come over on purpose. God of Meng even kicked one away, and it fell to the edge of the abyss. Whoosh, that fire leopard was frightened. It stood up, threw a look at the abyss, and then went back the way it came. The other 2 fire leopards did the same. They turned around and ran toward God of Meng when they saw the abyss. Good. Lu Li and the others could see clearly the fear in the fire leopard's eyes. They were more satisfied with Kumang's illusion. This time, even if there were more fire leopards coming from the other side of the valley, they would be frightened by the illusion. At least, the passageway in and out of this world would be safe. When all the fire leopards are killed, Kumang, please go to the entrance of the valley and build an illusion like this. Lu Li told Kumang that as long as there was an inhibition formation on the other side of the valley, this place could be their base camp. With this base camp, they could slowly expand to this world and eventually occupy this world. The world was large, and there must be a lot of treasures. That was an endless supply of resources. How many powerful warriors could they train? Also, this place could be another way out. The deserted world was connected to this place. In 10 years, even if they couldn't defeat the 4 forces, they could retreat to the deserted world and destroy the passageway. With the small world and the mystical materials from the deserted world, they could live comfortably here. After some thoughts, Kumang shook his head and said, "This illusion is not suitable to be built on the other side of the valley. How about this? I will go back and get some materials. I will work with my grandpa to build an ancient formation. If we can build it, not even a human sovereign realm warrior can see through it. We will be much safer here." Okay. Luli nodded and said, "Go and get ready. Let me know if you need anything, and I will go find it for you. I will give you credit for building this formation." Thank you, Saint Lord. Chapter 599. After a day, all the fire leopards were killed. Chu Chung and the others were exhausted. From start to finish, they had killed at least 10,000 flame leopards. Although the flame leopards could not hurt them at their level, it was still very tiring to continue fighting for such a long time. Kumang and Ku Lv came in with patriarchs of the Shadowland race. The formation must be troublesome to build. Luli asked someone to clean up the scene and collect all the bone spurs. Those were natural heaven grade Xian artifacts, and they could be made into holy grade Xian artifacts. Before the formation was finished, Luli did not send Yicha to scout for fear that more fire leopards would be attracted. He only asked Yicha and Yihu to scout nearby in case any beast would affect Ku Lv and Kumang. At the same time, he asked God of Meng to guard nearby. The Shadowland race was not strong. Luli would be heartbroken if 1 or 2 of them were killed. Lu Ling didn't want to go back to the Clouds Plains for now. She would send someone to the deserted world to inform her if something happened. She was interested in this small world. Luli's business was her business. Now that Luli was in need of help, She would not sit by and do nothing. The construction of the formation was time-consuming. After all, it must be the most powerful formation of illusion of the Shadowland race, since it was related to the word immortal. QLV, Kamang and a group of patriarchs had been working for 2 days, but they hadn't finished yet. Luli didn't waste time. He asked people to build teleportation formations, as well as a large amount of food and water. He planned to build a castle to prepare for a long campaign. As soon as they entered the small world, they encountered such a large group of fire leopards. Each of the fire leopards was as powerful as a noble Lord Realm warrior. How many beasts were there in the small world? How many powerful ones were there? Luli could not imagine. He must be prepared and take his time to conquer the small world. On the 4th day, the formation was finally finished. Li and the others walked out of the valley and sensed it. They were all shocked. Standing outside the valley, they could not see a valley. It had turned into a creepy cave. Similar to the formation of illusion at Mount Mist, they could not find the entrance to the valley. They felt they were walking around in the cave. Furthermore, there was a sense of fatal danger coming from all directions, causing one's hair to stand on end and heart to pound. After walking 1 round, he even walked out of the cave automatically. Not bad. Ga-Ming came out as well. He looked around and exclaimed, "I cannot see through this inhibition formation. If I didn't know there was a valley here, I wouldn't have been able to walk out." Chu Cheng and the others followed him out. Hu Lang and Chu Cheng could not see through them either. Only the leader of the Heavenly Lotus cult could vaguely sense them. But if he hadn't known that this was a canyon, he definitely wouldn't have been able to enter it. Clan leader Ku, if we can conquer this small world this time, your Heavenly Illusion tribe will get the most credit. Guided by Komang, Lu Li and the others returned to the valley. Lu Li raised his thumb and exclaimed. Ku LV smiled at Komang and said proudly, "No one in my clan has comprehended this ancient god formation. Only Komang can set it up. My clan still has 9 divine matrices, and it all depends on whether this kid can comprehend them or not. The later divine matrices are more powerful than the previous ones. Moreover, there are 3 divine matrices that are not only illusory matrices, but also killing matrices. The most powerful illusory matrices can kill a human sovereign. Amazing. The ancient races all had their own divine powers. There was a reason why the Heavenly Illusion tribe could survive until now. None of the ancient races could be underestimated. For example, the enchantment of the Hag race could enchant all living beings. They were freakishly powerful. With such a formation as a barrier, everyone felt more at ease. At the very least, when enemies came, they could retreat to the deserted world and destroy the passageway. Clan Leader Yi, Patriarch 3, I will leave the rest to you. Be careful. Come back if something goes wrong." Lu Li turned to Yi Cha and the others. In order to conquer this small world, they must have a clear understanding of the situation. If there were powerful beings in the small world, then they could make plans to leave as soon as possible. Yi Cha went with 2 patriarchs. The 3 of them understood the difficulty of this mission. Yi Cha nodded and said, "Saint Lord, don't worry. We will be careful." Yi Cha and the others left the valley. They had to wait. She sat in her temporary tent to cultivate. She told Hu Lang to go back to the Clouds Plains to see if there was anything out of the ordinary there. The teleportation formation was being built outside. It would be connected to the entrance of the passageway to the Serenity Plains. It would take Hu Lang less than half a day to go back to the Clouds Plains. Lu Li went into a tent to cultivate, but he could not calm down. For one thing, he was worried about Yi Cha and the others. They would be in danger if they ran into beings of the human sovereign realm. For another, he was wondering if there were Bodhi fruits in this world. Time moved on. In just 3 days, Patriarch 4 of the Cyan Phoenix race came back with a piece of news. The surrounding area was the territory of the fire leopards. They had only traveled for 3 million miles, and they had encountered nearly 1 million fire leopards. Patriarch 4's speed and realm were not as good. Yi Cha told him to come back and report first and didn't take him further. Nearly 1 million? Meng Ji and Chi Ker's eyes glowed. Nearly 1 million fire leopards meant nearly 1,000,000 heaven-grade Xian artifacts. At the Central Plains, they could fetch a sky-high price of Xian crystals. How many mystical materials could they buy? How many powerful warriors could they train? Lu Li and Lu Ling, on the other hand, were worried. There were so many fire leopards. Yi Cha and the others had explored for thousands of miles, and it was all the territory of the fire leopards. How large was this small world? Unimaginable. Another 5 days passed, and a third elder Yi who returned with an even more shocking piece of news. They had left the territory of the fire leopards and encountered another kind of powerful beasts. The comprehensive abilities of those beasts were no weaker than warriors of the noble lord realm. Yi Cha also sensed that the king of the beasts might be at the human sovereign realm. There are beast kings. Lu Li and Lu Ling's minds were weighed down. Beast kings were nothing. They could take their time to clear them out. It would be best if there were no Earth Immortal Realm beasts, or else they would have to give up on this small world. Lu Li and Lu Ling couldn't do anything before they had a clear picture of the situation. They had to wait for Yi Cha's return. 8 days later, Yi Cha finally came back. His face was solemn. When he came back, he went to Lu Li and Lu Ling's tent and secretly reported what he had found. Yi Cha didn't even know how far he had traveled in more than a dozen days. It should be as far as half of the Clouds Plains. However, Yi Cha still felt that there was no end to such a vast territory. He had only detected 5 types of beasts in this territory. There were more than 1,000,000 of each type of beast, and there were beast emperors among the beasts. Lu Ling thought about it for a while and asked, "Did you find any signs of human life?" Yi Cha shook his head and said, "Not yet. I found many treasures that have been around for more than 100,000 years. If there were humans here, they would have picked them all." Okay. Lu Ling and Lu Li looked at each other and made up their minds. "I will mobilize powerful warriors from the Clouds Plains, and Lu Li, you do the same from the Northern Desert. Get all the noble Lord Realm warriors here. No matter what, we must dig into this mountain of treasures." Sure, they could not give up on so many treasures. In order to get all the mystical materials, they must clear out the beasts nearby. It would be inefficient to rely on a few human sovereign realm warriors. All the noble Lord Realm warriors of the Clouds Plains and the Northern Desert must be mobilized. Chapter 600. There were not many noble Lord Realm warriors at the Northern Desert. Including the Cyan Phoenix race and the Mammoth race, there were only a dozen. But over the past 2 years, Lu Li had bought many rare mystical materials and many had made breakthroughs. For example, Bai Long, a few imperishable realm experts of the Z family and Yu family had broken through. There was also the deserted world. The deserted world had always been short of mystical materials. After Lu Li went to the Central Plains to buy some mystical materials, the number of warriors reaching the Noble Lord Realm had been increasing. Lu Li counted at least 50 Noble Lord Realm warriors. Of course, it was not enough. Compared to the Clouds Plains, the Drifting Cloud Hall had at least hundreds of Noble Lord Realm warriors. But there was nothing to be done about it. The Northern Desert was a rural area where mystical materials were scarce. It was hard for a warrior to reach the Noble Lord Realm. God of Ming and the others were worried. The Clouds Plains was so powerful. If 1,000 or 2,000 Noble Lord Realm warriors came, wouldn't the Clouds Plains get the lion's share of the mystical materials? Lu Li was not worried about this. He didn't even think about it. For him, Lu Ling was everything. He could give her everything he had, not to mention the resources in the small world. He could give her everything he had as long as she said the word. Lu Li asked Yi Cha to go back and deliver his order. Apart from Lu Feishue and Yu Huaxin, all the Noble Lord Realm warriors were to be mobilized. 1 or 2 Noble Lord Realm warriors were needed outside. Also, Lu Li didn't trust Yu Huaxin, so he didn't let him in. With Yu Huaxin, Lu Feishue, and Madame Yin out there, the Northern Desert would be safe. The powerful warriors of the big families of the Central Plains did not dare to enter the Northern Desert openly. They would only send some scouts. The most powerful ones should be at the Eternal Realm. Yu Huaxin and Madame Yin could deal with them. Besides, the Northern Desert didn't have too many secrets. As long as the deserted world was not exposed, the Central Plains scouts could find out everything else. Luli asked Yuhuashan to guard the entrance to the deserted world. As long as there were no scouts in the deserted world, it didn't matter if there were scouts from the Central Plains everywhere. As soon as the order was given, all the warriors of the northern desert started to move. Zihuan Xiao and Bai Lung were excited. In the past, the deserted world was a forbidden land for them. Finally, Luli was willing to let them in. Lu Ling asked Hu Lang to go back and gather the noble Lord Realm warriors of the Clouds Plains. Of course, they did not mobilize all of them, as that would attract the attention of the major forces in the Liang and Yuzhou provinces. Even if he mobilized half of them, there would be at least 1,000 of them. The teleportation formation was built quickly. By the time the noble Lord Realm warriors from the Clouds Plains arrived, the teleportation formation at the crater had been completed. So many noble Lord Realm warriors? How many human sovereigns are there? When Zihuan Xiao, Bai Lung, and Lung Mingyu came in, many people were shocked. They were the top figures in the northern desert. They did not expect to be at the bottom, in front of the experts from the cloud state of the deserted world. Let's go into the inferno. Lu Li and Lu Ling were in the small world they named Inferno. Yi Cha and Gadaming were in charge of the outside world. They sent warriors into the inferno. Zihuan Xiao, Zihuaning, Bai Lung, Mingyu, and the others entered the inferno from the tunnel. Tents had already been set up in the inferno. There was a god formation at the entrance of the canyon. The valley inside the canyon could be used as a base camp. If they had nothing to do, they could cultivate, rest, and heal here. Emperor, when the noble Lord Realm warriors of the northern desert saw Lu Li, they knelt down at once. Lu Li waved his hand to tell them not to stand on ceremony. He didn't explain too much. He just told them to go back to their tents and rest until all the warriors arrived. Almost all the noble Lord Realm warriors of the northern desert and the deserted world had arrived. Half of the warriors from the Clouds Plains were here, and more were still being teleported. Half of the warriors from the Clouds Plains were here. More than 1,000 noble Lord Realm warriors from the Clouds Plains had come. The number of warriors from the northern desert and the deserted world was not enough. Many noble Lord Realm warriors of the Clouds Plains were puzzled. Why were they mobilized here? But Hu Lang, Chu Cheng, and Lu Ling were here. Who dared to say anything? Lu Li looked at Lu Ling, who walked out. Looking at the crowd, she said, "This place is called the Inferno. It is a small world. The purpose of gathering you here is to conquer this small world. There are many mystical materials and treasures here. Of course, there are horrifying beasts. It is dangerous here. Maybe in a year, more than half of you will die here. What I can promise you is, as long as you can survive, your abilities will improve by leaps and bounds. Also, the mystical materials you will get will be enough for you to live in luxury for several lifetimes. Now, I will make some announcements. You must obey orders and do not kill each other. You must report your grievances to us, and we will deal with them. Anyone who dares to resort to violence or murder a comrade will be killed on the spot." With that said, Lu Ling looked to Hu Lang and shouted, "General Hu Lang." Hu Lang stepped out, glanced around, and said, "Saintess's words are our words. The four of us will stay here and kill anyone who dares to mess around." The group of people saw the murderous look of the four human sovereign realm cultivators and did not even dare to breathe loudly. Lu Ling could not say that she was the master of the Clouds Plains in front of the noble Lord Realm warriors of the Clouds Plains. She needed the human sovereign realm warriors to intimidate them. God of Meng was in charge of the deserted world, and nobody from the northern desert dared to disobey Lu Li. Of course, there were not many people in the deserted world and the northern desert. None of the powerful warriors of the Clouds Plains would come looking for trouble. They were afraid that the powerful warriors of the Clouds Plains would bully them. Lu Ling's resourcefulness and tactics were outstanding. Lu Li asked her to command the army. Lu Li wanted to go out himself to improve his abilities. This time, the main warriors were from the Clouds Plains. It was not convenient for him to mobilize them. Warriors from the Clouds Plains were confused and hostile when they saw God of Meng and Chi Ke. After all, they were from ancient races. Humans and ancient races were mortal enemies. Why were they fighting together? With the human sovereign realm warriors here, nobody dared to say anything or show any hostility. Luli divided the army into 10 teams. Warriors from the deserted world and the northern desert were each in their own team. In order to avoid conflict with the Cloud's plains, they didn't use any tactics at first. They just had to clear out the fire leopards that were closest to the base camp. "Get out of the valley," Lu Ling ordered. More than 1,000 warriors went to the valley, while Yi Cha went to lure some fire leopards over. The army was not familiar with the fire leopards yet. Lu Ling planned to let the human sovereign realm warriors fight with a small group of fire leopards for a while. In this way, the army wouldn't be caught unprepared and suffer casualties. Soon, hundreds of fire leopards were lured over by Yi Cha. Yi Cha slowed down and sped up at the entrance of the valley. The formation at the entrance of the valley was miraculous. Looking from the side of the valley, there was no illusion. Therefore, when the warriors saw the fire leopards coming and sensed the violence from them, they held their weapons tight, ready to fight at any time. Nobody dared to make a move without Lu Ling's order. They were not worried, since there were several human sovereign realm warriors in front of them. What happened next shocked countless people. After the group of fire leopards rushed to the entrance of the canyon, they all circled around it. Their vertical eyes were filled with fear. The fire leopards were only about 300 feet away from the warriors, but they didn't seem to see them. They just circled around the entrance of the valley. Hu Lang, Chu Cheng, God of Meng, Lien, and I go. Chapter 601. Bang, bang, bang. The 5 human sovereign realm warriors activated their force fields. It was easy for them to fight. Force fields could suppress many fire leopards. Then, they would take out their weapons and kill the fire leopards one by one. Close force fields, Lu Ling said when there were only about 100 fire leopards left. Using force fields to suppress the fire leopards could hide their ferociousness. She asked them to stay and watch so that they could have a clear understanding of the fire leopard's abilities. After all, noble Lord Realm warriors did not have force fields. The 5 human emperors closed their gravitational fields, and the fire leopards suddenly became ferocious. One by one, the fire leopards flashed and moved around the 5 human emperors like phantoms. They were too fast, and the spikes on their heads were too sharp. They slid across the arm of Hei Ni, the palace lord of the Black Moon Palace, and easily cut through his arm guard. There was another horrifying thing about the fire leopards. They could breathe out some red air current from their mouths. The air current was not poisonous or hot. Instead, it had a strange power that could restrain warriors and slow them down. Lu Ling saw the confusion and explained, "The most horrifying thing about the fire leopards is the air current they can breathe out. It seems that the air current can draw upon the force in heaven and earth to suppress the enemies. When you fight the fire leopards, you must be careful of the air current. If you're enveloped by the air current, you will not even be able to move." The more than 1,000 warriors were astonished. The beast could draw upon the force in heaven and earth. That was so strange and horrifying. Many people had not learned a profound meaning. How could the beast know how to draw upon the force in heaven and earth? Lu Ling continued after a pause. "You can learn while you fight. I have been sensing this place these days. It seems that it is easier to draw upon the force in heaven and earth. In other words, the laws of heaven and earth here are clearer and more distinct. I hope that you can learn a profound meaning during this period of time." What? Many noble Lord Realm warriors' eyes glowed as they discussed. If they could learn a profound meaning here, they would feel they had made a fortune even if they didn't have to share their mystical materials. "Okay, 10 teams. Go out and find some fire leopards to practice." Lu Ling saw that there were only 40 or 50 fire leopards left. She waved her hand, and the warriors rushed out of the valley. When all of them were out, she said, "You must cooperate with each other in the fight. Survival comes first. There are many healers and elixirs in the base camp. As long as you are still alive, you can be cured. Kill." Hearing Lu Ling's words, they were all excited. What was there to be afraid of with such good logistical support? The group of people's murderous aura surged as they transformed into 10 sharp arrows and shot towards the fire leopard. Luli didn't follow her. He looked at Lu Ling and asked with curiosity, "Sister, are the laws of heaven and earth clearer here?" Okay, she did not lie. Looking into the sky, she said, "I am of miraculous birth. I am more sensitive to laws and profound meanings in heaven and earth. I think it's clearer here than in the cloud plains and the northern desert desolate world. In other words, it's easier to comprehend profound meaning here." Profound meanings were the direct embodiment of the natural laws. There were all sorts of laws of heaven and earth in this world, such as raging winds, raging waves, and divine lightning. These were all direct manifestations of the laws of heaven and earth. If one could comprehend the profound meaning of these laws of heaven and earth, then one could borrow the power of heaven and earth to form powerful attacks and divine abilities. If it was really easier to comprehend the profound mysteries in this inferno prison, then it would be an unparalleled land of treasures. The strength of the cultivators who entered the inferno prison would soar. Of course, all of this was Lu Ling's speculation. She would need time to prove it. Even so, Luli was excited. In 10 years, the four forces would invade the northern desert. The Cloud's plains would not be spared. His original plan was to retreat to the deserted world if he could not defeat the four forces and cut off contact with the Heaven Reverse universe forever. This was the last path of retreat and also the worst one. After all, the Heaven Reverse universe was a world of many colors and the deserted world was just a well. They were trapped in the well and covered up, unable to leave for the rest of their lives. For all of them, this was a grievance and sorrow. If in the past 10 years, they could make great progress in their abilities in the Inferno. Even if they could not wipe out the four forces, it would be a miracle if they could survive the attacks from the four forces. In the future, when the number of powerful warriors at the northern desert and the Cloud's plains grew, there was still a chance for them to take control of the central plains. Bang, 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 the battle on the other side had already begun. Luli glanced over and felt slightly relieved. Groups of powerful warriors were flying in the sky. It was not difficult for them to kill a small number of fire leopards. Warriors from the Cloud's plains knew how to cooperate. They used all kinds of methods and injured the fire leopards one after another. Luli looked to the teams from the northern desert and was satisfied as well. The Titan race and the Mammoth race were fighting off the fire leopards while the others worked together to help. 2 fire leopards were killed easily. In the time for 1 incense stick to burn, the 40 to 50 fire leopards were all killed by the 10 teams. Only one of them was injured by a fire leopard, but it was not serious. Yi Cha. Luli waved his hand and asked Yi Cha to lure more fire leopards over. It was better for Luli not to lure too many fire leopards over. He wanted the teams to get used to each other first. In this way, when the fire leopards came in on a large scale, they wouldn't lose their composure and suffer heavy casualties. Soon, Yi Cha lured over 200 to 300 fire leopards. God of Meng and the others dashed into the fire leopards to attract the main firepower. The other teams of the Noble Lord realm went to hunt down the fire leopards. Luli observed for a while. The situation was stable. The teams were in the right state and they were cooperating better. It was easy for them to kill the fire leopards. Last time when God of Meng came with patriarchs of the Titan race, many of them were injured and one of them even died. It was because they were not prepared and they were not familiar with the fire leopards. They lost their composure and suffered heavy losses. Technically speaking, the fire leopards were not horrifying. It was just that the air they breathed out was strange. If they were prepared and cooperated well, they wouldn't be killed immediately and they could run away. Saint Lord Kumeng came over with several patriarchs of the Shadowland race. He reported, "Our race can build some illusions. Our people can see through the illusions as long as we tell them the secret. But not the fire leopards. They're not intelligent, so I don't think they can see through the illusions. The illusions will be more effective in killing the fire leopards and the casualty rate will be reduced as well. Lu Li and Lu Ling looked at each other. Both were delighted. They had thought that the Shadowland race was only good at defense. They didn't know that they could assist in attacks. Okay. Lu Li waved his hand and said, Kumang, go ahead and do what you need. Tell my sister if you need any mystical materials or help. You will be rewarded according to your contributions. Thank you, Saint Lord. Kumang left with the others after he expressed his gratitude. Lu Li looked at Lu Ling and said, Sister, I will leave this to you. I will go and kill the fire leopards and cultivate a secret skill. Go ahead. Lu Ling nodded and said with a smile, Don't force yourself. Be careful. Whoosh, that you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.